Thank you to Morris Arkletum for their generous donation on Patreon. If you would like to join them in their generosity, the link to my Patreon page is in the description. Hello, everyone! My name is Deckerlink, the Trained Unprofessional, and welcome to this episode. I forgot to look at the number of all of the above. I could literally just stop and then look, but nah.
It's a fucking train wreck already, and we're gonna write it.
And this, I don't want to say week, because these do not come out weekly. This time, I am joined by the Lovey.
The Lovey.
You're the Lovey. Oh, Jesus. That's certainly going to be a noise.
That's good, yeah.
I'm joined by the Bri, the Squeak.
Hi.
The Yip.
Yep.
It's good. Your Squeak is sort of basically turned into a Yip at this point. When you go like, I can't do it. Yeah, that. It's like a Yip. I meant to do this like weeks ago, and it just never fucking happened. And Bri can't even be here for this whole one. She's going to be in and out because she's cooking dinner. But we do have a number of topics to get through, so hope. And when one of them is not going to be the insurrection on the Capitol, because I don't want to fucking think about it. Like, I have panicked enough. I had to describe it to my brother today, who, by the way, hadn't fucking heard about it yet. Isn't that a privileged life? You could just go about your business.
I fundamentally did not believe said person hadn't heard anything about it. But...
What? I'm talking about Aaron.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What about him? I don't understand what you said.
I couldn't believe that he hadn't heard about it. I was like, he must have heard it from a coworker or fucking anything. It's absolutely impossible that he didn't hear about it. And then I remembered, like, you know, like his viewing habits and what he does.
Yeah, he doesn't watch TV. He doesn't go on social media.
Yeah.
He basically, when he's at home, he plays games or watches stuff on streaming services. Yeah. And
so when you were like, have you heard about the Capitol? And Aaron was like, no. I was like, bullshit, Aaron. And then I'd be like, no, wait, actually.
It makes sense, but it shouldn't.
Yeah.
But the first thing we're going to talk about, and it's going to be nice and quick, is unfortunately just before the end of the year, on December 26th, I believe, the wrestling world and the world in general lost a absolutely remarkable man in John Huber, otherwise known as Brodie Lee, otherwise known as Luke Harper. If you're not a wrestling fan, you probably won't know a lot about this guy, but all you need to know, and you just go to Twitter and look up the name John Huber, and you will see his fellow wrestlers, his, you know, from staff to cameramen to fans, just pretty much anyone who knew this guy, their life was made better by him. And I absolutely, it's still shocking to me. Even like Jim Cornette, who's like a wrestling historian, he couldn't recall a time where someone was at the top and then just were gone. Like, the closest thing I could think of was Owen Hart, and that was, he wasn't exactly at the top. He was fighting for the Intercontinental Championship, but even then, everyone loved Owen Hart, and what happened to him was tragic, and nobody knew. That was another thing. The guy, John Huber, I'll call him Brodie Lee, he was sick with a lung condition. And nobody knew. It was a surprise to everybody. It was insane. What really kind of made it sad for me was the fact that when he was in WWE for a long time, and they tried to break him off into a single star a lot, but, you know, either Vince didn't see anything in him, or apparently Vince really didn't like him because he couldn't do a convincing Southern accent. Just fucking dumb. But a lot of people, he should have been in the WWE Championship match at WrestleMania 33, but he wasn't. He should have had a much bigger spotlight on him in WWE, but as soon as he got away from there, he had the TNT championship in AEW. He was a very prominent figure on TV. He was just everywhere, and everyone loved him. Whether he was successful to the degree he should have been or not, he was absolutely adored by everyone. And so, yeah, it's just a very, very sad thing to be experiencing in general. And just right after Christmas, I mean, we were really hoping. A lot of wrestling personalities were lost this year. We were really hoping that we wouldn't have any more. I remember Wrestle Talk put out an in memoriam video for all the wrestler people we lost in 2020, and a lot of the comments were like, "You just jinxed someone. Mm-hmm. Someone's gonna make this video out of date before the end of the year." And unfortunately, it was a young father.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, at least he passed peacefully with his family and all.
Surrounded by his family, and his son. A lot of people just loved are loving his son too. Like the company that Brodie was working for, AEW, they signed his son. He's a child, but they signed his son so that he can join the company when he comes of age, and they even had him pin the champion, and he even came out and cut a promo on someone, and he's got a gimmick, and he's obviously loving that, but it's
I'll fucking laugh if he grows up to be like an accountant.
Well, still, I mean, Kofi Kingston was in an office job before he went to wrestling.
Well, I just more mean if his kid has no interest in pursuing wrestling as a career later, which is completely valid.
Yeah, they're not gonna rescind their
right.
their support of him. It's like, oh, you think you're too good for wrestling? You want to go be a fucking water boy? Fine.
You want to go be a botanicologist? I don't know, man.
But yes. Anyway, R.I.P. Brodie Lee, and much love to your family. And on that fucking sad note, let's get into something that's a little more lighthearted and nice. Here recently, I've been trying to break a rule of mine, a struggle I usually have with watching new stuff. Can you be here?
I am here.
Are you?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yeah, but you're not talking at all.
Yeah, I didn't have anything to say about Brodie Lee.
Yeah, you don't watch as much as I do.
No.
But I've been trying to break a rule of mine. Not even a rule. It's just an unfortunate problem with my mentality of my mental energy of not being able to handle watching new stuff. Mm-hmm. And you need to go get that.
But I want to talk about Sweet Home.
Yeah, we'll go into... Let's do your part first, then. We watched 2 mini-series. They're not mini... Well, they're 2 first seasons of a series. One is Sweet Home. The other is Ratched. Mm-hmm. Go.
I like the both.
Thank you for your input. Now go.
Okay. I'll pose a question to you first. Which one did you like more out of the both of them?
Sweet Home.
Hardcore, me too.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So, if you haven't watched Sweet Home, it's on Netflix. It's based off
Both these are.
Yeah. It's based off of a Korean comic, like an original creator. It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to spoil too much of the premise, but...
Well, the premise can be spoiled. Just don't spoil the ending.
Right, okay. So, the basic premise is all of these people live in an apartment building, and then a new epidemic, just apocalyptic kind of thing.
Topical.
Yeah, destroys the world. And what it ends up doing is it's both a disease, but it's based off of human selfishness and desire. And it literally morphs people into grotesque monsters.
Based around what, their biggest fear or their worst trait or what?
It can be fear, insecurities, or their biggest want.
Yeah.
So
it's like a zombie virus, but if the zombie was a boggart.
Yeah. So, but it's the designs of the monsters are all really, really amazing. And then the characters are all, I mean, there's one or two that are obnoxious, but that's how it works in real life.
Yeah.
And oh god, the show does not shy away from just like hurting you profoundly.
Oh yeah.
But that's what makes it like so engaging and good. So please, for the love of Christ.
I remember saying to you, it was like when people think that their favorites die in like The Walking Dead or Game of Thrones, like this is one season.
Yeah.
And they fuck up your favorites.
Oh god, yeah, they do. And I think the relationships are very real and very wonderfully put. Yeah. Even the ones between like characters who are absolutely irredeemable, there is a real life quality to them, and
no one's simple.
Yeah. And I don't just say, oh, it's because of Netflix. I think the actual creator, the comic book creator, has so much fucking talent. Yeah. That it just,
couple of janky CG moments.
Oh, but I also like that it's the charm of it. Yeah. Because it's this grotesque, unreal. It's meant to be such a juxtaposition. It's supposed to look completely insane. Like, you could never imagine something like this could happen. Yeah. And they're supposed to change so much because their own, desires and fears and whatever have made them absolutely inhuman, that there's nothing tethering them. And that's how I see it.
And there's a play on whether it's a death sentence or if it's an improvement, but that's already getting a little too far into it. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely great. I'll give more of my thoughts on that after, but your turn on Ratched.
So Ratched, you never saw One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, did you?
No, I did not.
Okay.
But this is a prequel.
Yeah. I saw One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and that movie fucked me up. Well, not fucked me up, but it was also very deeply emotional. Mm-hmm. So, I was like, oh, I'm interested in the whole Ratched thing, but I didn't think her backstory would be as interesting, because she's a sadistic fucking bureaucrat, really, in One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah, like, she didn't even seem that significant when I was reading on the plot of that movie. She just sort of was there, and then stuff happens. But, like, she was not, like, the main thing.
She kind of is in a sense, but, the whole thing about Nurse Ratched and One Who Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is, it's hard to describe.
Let's talk about Ratched. Let's talk about Ratched.
The point is, after knowing who the character becomes, I saw Nurse Ratched as more of a lead up into like an American Horror Story type of deal.
Yeah. It is presented very much like a horror movie.
It is. And that it's supposed to be like a direct, quote-unquote, prequel was a little strange to me. But I still enjoyed it, like, very much. Like, it goes into a lot of really fucking dark places. And I really liked the character, the main character, Nurse Ratched. It seems like every time it seems like she's caught, she's manipulated her way out of it. It's fucking insane, the thing she's able to pull out of absolutely nothing.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought, her cunning, and that itself does very much fit into the actual movie.
But she's not the hero. Because it sounds like you're describing, like, an awesome main character. She is a piece of shit.
She's the villain. She's hardcore the villain. The show is about the villain, which I love shows like that.
And not everyone else is the good guys either. Like,
no.
There's a lot of shades of gray here.
Yeah, lots of terrible people, but in an intriguing way.
Yes. It's not just like, oh, everyone sucks, the end. Like,
yeah. So, but that's a quality you see in the actual movie, where Nurse Ratched can do the most absolutely heinous shit to people, but on the surface it will look totally called for.
Yeah. And, like, you can literally see her, like, doing these horrible things, and you still are like, oh no, she might be in trouble. Like, how the fuck do you root for someone who is this fucking terrible?
And it's very incredible in the way that, at least watching it for me, when she's taking the next heinous step, I'm like, yeah, well, of course, this doesn't see, she's gotta murder that guy. You know what I'm saying?
The logic she uses has built up in your mind, as in the audience, into thinking like that's an actual line of thought that should be followed.
Yeah, it is. They do a very good job.
It's like she's manipulating us too.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. They really do help you connect with her in a very serious way. And I mean,
the title sequence is so fucking cool.
It is. And
ladies and gentlemen, the vent.
And it is, at least I think it was much, I wouldn't say a slog. With Sweet Home, I couldn't fucking put it down.
Oh, yeah.
I watched the whole thing in one sitting.
It tore me out of what I was doing. Like, I was doing something else with headphones, and I would look up and be like, what the fuck? What the fuck? And so I just had to stop doing what I was doing.
And the thing about Sweet Home is it totally ropes you in about, these horrific monsters, and you think it's going to play out kind of like a zombie movie.
Yeah.
Where it's just people versus zombies, gore, that kind of stuff.
That's the nice one, that's the weird one, that's the hero.
And that's maybe it for the first 2.5 episodes, and then it's all about the people.
Yeah.
Like, the monsters themselves don't become as big of a deal, but it's still just as fucking, you can't take your eyes away from it. Yeah. You gotta figure out what's going on.
Oh, yeah. There's always mysteries. There's new shit happening. Just as soon as you think, oh, so this is gonna be the series arc. Nope! Next episode, that's gone. We're moving on to something else, but in a good way.
Yeah, the show is
They don't rush it, but
it's a thrill ride. It's absolute whiplash.
Yeah. It feels like everything moves from piece to piece in the order it would.
Yeah. Whereas Ratched is much more kind of slow, calculated. Like I said, it's got a lot of American Horror Story kind of vibes. It does not get into that gruesome of territory.
Sometimes.
But it deals with very real fucked up topics.
Yeah.
And I think it explores them just enough to be uncomfortable but not overbearing.
Yeah, and it gives you space to have imagination with it. Because if it just played everything out, not only would that be boring to watch, but there would be no, like, oh my god. It's like the end of a classic horror movie when it's shown the villain, the killer hand out of the grave. Like, it leaves you with that feeling of, what if, oh my god, what, they're not dead yet. They're still,
right.
Like, if they just showed the villain being, like, stabbed to death, buried, dismembered, and then done, there'd be no horror. And I'm just taking that feeling from the analogy over here, because if they don't show every little bit playing out, but they.
And there are parts of Nurse Ratched where I feel like we're kind of ham-fisted. Like, they just kind of slammed it in there, and it was kind of a dead end. Or, like, things that happen that I just get annoyed with in shows, but that's just me. Yeah. So, I would also recommend Ratched very much. I feel like I don't have to tell a whole lot of people to watch it, because I feel like the entire world has fucking watched it.
I didn't even know it existed. I mean, it is pretty new. It came out, last year?
God, I don't know. Maybe even earlier.
Yeah. I know when I looked it up that they said they filmed it in 2018, but it only debuted on Netflix in 2020.
Yeah. So, both of them, to me, were very good. The best thing about both of them was that you and me binge watched it together. Oh, God, that, like, exemplified all of my joy, like, 10 times over.
Yeah. It is hard for me to watch new stuff without getting utterly exhausted.
And these were hours and hours and hours you were putting in.
Granted, right before bed.
Right.
It's not like I had to go take a fucking SAT afterwards,
Well,
but
that's even more significant because right before you go to bed is when you have the least amount of energy.
yeah. And what made it even better for me is that you didn't sit there and be like, "Hey, you should watch this with me." I was like, "That looks good. Bri's watching it. I want to watch this with Bri."
Tuning in to whatever the fuck my girlfriend's watching.
Yeah, but if you just sit there and like, "Hey, you must watch this. You should watch this." Like,
I don't say it like that. I'm like, you wanna watch this with me? You wanna?
Yeah. And I want to. It's hard, man.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's never about not wanting to do it. I always want to. I don't always want to, but I more often than not want to. It's just whether or not I can.
Yeah.
As you know, but
I'll say my I could probably go on for a bit longer, but
Yeah.
I'll say for now it's wrapped up, so I can get to cooking. And also, would you be up for watching My Macadamia later?
No.
Dang. Okay.
My favorite show.
Ed, Ed, and Eddie, it is.
I don't have to think about that. I'm not invested in the story arc of Ed.
Which one?
Ed! If I said Double D or Eddie, you'd know who I was talking about. I'm talking about Ed, goddammit. Learn your Eds. I don't have much to add to her review. Honestly, I loved Sweet Home. It's one of my favorite shows now. It honestly is. I don't know where it goes on the list. Because I keep a lot of fucking lists. Like, way too many lists about arbitrary shit. But it definitely is going to be on the list somewhere. And then with Ratchet, it's very nice. I want to see the next season, but not as much as I want to see season 2 of Sweet Home. Holy. So the next thing, I'll wait to. I'll save. I have a couple of things that I can share with Bri when she gets back. She's going to be gone for I don't know how long. I want to talk about my computer problems because I posted my paypal.me/DeckerLink link. It's just Decker Link, but it is a link that is called that. Jesus. I posted that on Twitter because my computer's been crashing on me, dude. Like, I'll literally be running one program and then my fans are going nuts because my CPU is super high, running super high. And like if I play a game, it has to be on like the lowest possible fucking graphics settings, and the connection's bad, and I keep getting blue screens, and I've lost multiple episodes of footage. Like, I recorded an hour-long watch-along of the season of The Tester with the PlayStation reality show. I did a watch-along of that. That's the one season that had Ego Raptor on it. And I really liked what I had done with it. I really enjoyed doing it. It's a shit show, literally. And it was just like the first episode, I think, that I watched. And right at the end, I clicked on like a Wikipedia link and the whole shit fucking crashed and I lost all the footage. And I'm not doing that shit again because it'll never be as good as the first one. And I don't want to sit through that fucking show again. But yeah, man, it pissed me off, and I don't remember what the other one I lost was. So I'm trying to save up some money to buy a new computer. I've had one person give me some money so far. It'd be Milo. Thank you, Milo. And my friend Dublin also said that they are going to. They haven't yet, but they said they would, so thank you to them. And if anyone else wants to donate to help me get a new computer, that'd be very much appreciated, because I'm scared to record now, because like when the files get too big, like when I get close to an hour, I have to stop the footage because I'm too fucking scared to lose that shit, man. I fucking can't do it. And if I'm recording, I have to close every other program down. I can't have folders up. I gotta, even background programs. And even then, I'll be recording and my fan is going super loud and getting super hot. And I believe, because on Twitter, someone asked, like, what was the error code, and I said that I forgot to take a picture of it, and that was the second time it happened. But I actually did remember to take a picture of the first time it happened. So, yay, I need to tell them that. They said, what is the stop code? The error code. The stop code was system thread exception not handled, and what failed was UTH-5x64.sys. I don't know what that means. I straight up don't know. I'm going to go to that Twitter spot right now so I can see who it is. It was Manchi Mutt. Oh, yes. The dev of Socially Awkward. So fucking cool. So fucking cool. Dude, they're just so cool. So cool. Alright, so I there we go. Because he asked, like, what was the code, and so yeah. If you want to and are able to, because I know not everyone who wants to help can. And especially right now, Jesus, there's not a lot of money going around at all. Hopefully, with the new administration that's going to be coming into office here soon, hopefully there will be some changes with COVID support and relief and whatever, but we'll see. We will fucking see. And I'm going to be talking about that more later on. One of the sections is dedicated to things that I want governmentally. But Bri's not back yet, so I'll move on to the next topic of that I talk about myself. I recently had to go to the ER. And by recently, I mean yesterday. I'm recording this on the 11th. I went on the 10th. It was a fucking shit show. And I hated it. Going to the doctor as a fat person, basically, you could go in there for any fucking reason. You could be stabbed. You could be stabbed in the fucking face. Knife still hanging off your cheek. And the doctor will still say, man, you need to lose this weight. You need to go take some exercise. They're like a fucking gym teacher telling you that, and no matter what's going on, you just need to walk it off. It's infuriating. It makes you feel like they don't give a shit. It makes you feel like they aren't even trying to help you. I went there at 7 o'clock. I didn't get out until around 10. And all that wound up happening was I experienced multiple people having tantrums, which was scary because I'm socially anxious. So when people start yelling and screaming, I'm especially sensitive to loud noises. I was very scared. I was wheelchair bound. I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't just run out. I could barely walk. But after waiting off and on for 3 fucking hours, all that happened was they gave me a muscle relaxer, a shot, and some oral liquid that tasted like pure concentrated bitterness. And I still felt like shit. Like, it was a little easier in the legs, but I have a herniated disc in my spine, and they labeled a problem I'm having as sciatica. I need to look into that more. I'm going to be talking to my doctor, but I might have sciatica now, which I've heard is a fucking like old person disease, but from what I've looked into it, some of the symptoms do line up. So if I have sciatica, this is just even fucking more crazy. So I got to make a doctor's appointment tomorrow. And it's absolute shit. I fucking hate it. I hate it because I've been heavy all my life, and every time I went to the doctor, which granted, as a kid was not very often. We didn't have money to be going to doctors, and before Obamacare, Medicaid wasn't really accessible to me. Now it is. And of course, you don't get the best care on Medicaid. You get the people who are willing to be underpriced for Medicaid, but not everyone who's expensive is worth it. But I've been to more doctor visits in the past few months than I have for the rest of my life, cumulatively. Before that. That was phrased terribly, but I feel like it was obvious what I was trying to say, even if I couldn't quite get it. Point is, I fucking hate going to the doctor as a fat guy. Because they don't fucking listen. And it's worse if you're a woman, because everything gets written off, even if you're not fat. And God forbid you're a woman of color, they'll just act like you're crazy. I've heard it from almost every female person of color that I've ever known, that when they go to the doctor, they've been treated like, no matter what's wrong with them, that they're just treated like they're crazy. And almost every woman I've ever met fucking hates going to the doctor too, because they just act like everything that's wrong with you is it's just a woman's issues, or they act like you're faking it or something like that. If Bri was in here during this segment, she'd be going a fucking mile a minute, because at one point, back when Obamacare hadn't been slashed to shit, Bri and I tried to sign up for healthcare on healthcare.gov at the same time, at the same day. We were living together. We had very comparable job incomes. And so a lot of the stuff was practically, and we're only a couple months apart, so our age wasn't even an issue. My health insurance was no money per month. The deductible was absolute garbage. So it was like, if everything breaks down, you're not going to go bankrupt, but you're going to be fucked health insurance. Bri, her lowest monthly premium that she would pay, could have paid, was like $200 a month. $265. That's how much she's over at the end of the bed now.
Yours was zero.
Mine was zero. Literally the only difference was our biological sex. That was it. We have the same eye color, same hair color, but same age. Sorry. Well,
because you put in your entire, all of your information exactly as it is. The only difference was you changed male to female, and you got $260.
Yeah, it's the system is rigged. It's anti-woman. It's straight up as anti-woman, and that shit needs to fucking change, man. Like, you get Medicare for all, that's gonna be addressed. You get a nationalized health service, I won't have to listen to cringy ass fucking prayers over the PA, because all the hospitals in this area or other areas seem to always be banking on Christian loans in order to fucking survive. If you had a nationalized health service, all the government paying for your hospitals, you wouldn't be allowed to have a public hospital force its religion down your fucking throat. That shit is obnoxious. I was in the ER and they fucking played a prayer over the intercom. I didn't come there for that. I'm agnostic. I don't want to fucking hear it. I didn't get mad at anyone. I didn't complain to them. I'm complaining to you. But you could still have private hospitals, I guess. You know, pay a fucking membership fee and we'll pray for you. I don't fucking know. But I know a lot of the people that worked at that hospital probably weren't Christian. A lot of the people who go there as patients aren't Christian. And it's not like it's only one of many ERs I could have gone to. The closest other ER was 30 fucking minutes away. And I could barely move.
Have you seen that Trumpy doctor in a while?
What, the one that was saying that COVID was a hoax? Mm-hmm. No, she's an absolute fraud. She had her 15 minutes of fame and she's been gone. She hasn't said shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got fucking skewered by public opinion.
Wait, no. I'm talking about the one you saw in his office. It was a man.
What are you talking about?
There was a guy.
Oh, my fucking eye doctor.
Yes.
I haven't seen him. My next appointment is in April, when they follow up with my possible glaucoma.
I wonder how that's gonna go.
I'm probably gonna hear an earful, because that guy literally was like, if anyone's thinking of voting for Biden, they should know what it's like to get beaten in the streets. And he said that if Trump lost the election, then he was gonna quit. And
good, hope he fucking did.
Well, Yeah, I can just go to a different. I like the receptionist there though.
Oh yeah.
All the receptionists there didn't want to fucking deal with his bullshit. It was the first medical professionals that accepted that I was not a male. And when I go to medical stuff, I put down my birth name and my sex as my gender because I don't want to confuse any sort of medical problems. But the receptionist at my eye doctor absolutely kick ass. They recognized it. They changed their pronouns for me, and I was able to stay there and gab with them. Like, I'm socially anxious. These were practical strangers, and they stayed and were gabbing with me, and it was so much fun. We were just making fun of the fucking eye doctor and his stupid bullshit. It was great. Ah, man. But yeah, so who the fuck is Dan Williams? Dan Williams? Oh, really? It's my cousin Danny. Wow, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Sweet. Here's hoping this isn't a scam, but like, I hope so. I mean, I fucking love my cousin Danny. I feel so bad because he was growing up. He was undiagnosed as he's a child. I can't discuss his medical stuff. That would not be okay. It's not my place. Point is, he was undiagnosed at the time while I was going through my teenage angst, and I was also diagnosed at the time. And so as I'm like brooding in a corner, he's happily running around and not knowing how to calm down and being hyperactive. And God, I feel bad. I feel bad about it. And that's how he knows me, because the last time I saw him, I barely got to talk to him because he had been medicated at that point. And I was with Bri. It was, last time I saw him was Thanksgiving 2015, I think. Yeah, I think it was. Maybe Thanksgiving 2016. I don't know. One of those. We had Thanksgiving at his place. Not his place. He's a child, but it's like multiple generations in one house. My uncle, my cousin Andrea, that's Danny's mom. They all live in the same house. As far as I know, I haven't really talked to them very often. I kind of went through this, like, I needed to get to know you as people phase with my family, which it's not really a phase. It's a standard. Like, that's a whole different story. Point is, I would really like to get to know them as people, as opposed to just being the family that I saw every, like, once a year. Because then I could actually decide, like, what the fuck's going on. But it's cool. Danny's got a fucking Facebook. Like, it looks like he just now made it. So, like, doesn't even have, like, a picture on it. Anyway, so yes, I'm getting fucking distracted. Moving the fuck on. That was the ER visit. In a nutshell. I couldn't even get to the pharmacy because my insurance, the only 24-hour pharmacy was Walgreens. And, oh no, the Walgreens was open until midnight, and they didn't take my insurance. So I would have had to pay out of pocket for that, which, fuck that. Because they gave me a prescription for extra strength ibuprofen and a muscle relaxer, both of which taste absolutely fucking terrible, and I have to take 3 times a day. And I'm not allowed refills, and there's only 20 pills in the bottle, so this is going to last less than a week. And then everything's just going to go back to the way it was before because they didn't fix anything. I'm on pain pills to make me feel like I'm in less pain. But then once the pills run out, I'm going to go back to the pain because nothing's been fixed. I was told I'm too fat for surgery a year and a half ago. Fucking hell. Anyway. I fucking hate it. Anyway. So that's the ER visit. Another cool thing is that was cool. Mentioned it a time or two. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but Oh, wait a minute. Wasn't that going to be with Bri? Oh, no. Nah, fuck it. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Me and Bri have lived in this house for over a year now. It'll be a year and a month come January 25th. We moved in this time, Christmas last year. Now I'm thinking about it. Bri and I definitely did talk about this on a previous episode. Point is, we finally reached the mark, past a year. This is definitely the best place I've ever lived. It's the happiest I've ever been living in a place. And I'm excited to see where it goes from here because our lease comes up this year. So at some point this year, probably 3 months from there, it'll be September, our landlord's going to talk to us. Hopefully he doesn't increase our rent at all. And if he does, hopefully it's not much because this year ain't been great to a lot of people, including us. But we'll see how that goes. So, Bri is still not back, and I imagine she's going to, when she does come back, it'll be with food, so I'll probably stop recording at that point and probably pick up afterwards. But, Jesus, you can hear her in the background. Let's go ahead and go into probably what'll be the main event here. Alright, what the fuck? Oh, okay. Goddamn notifications keep distracting me. I can't keep focus on fucking anything. So I have my favorites when it comes to visual novels. And over a year ago, I posted a video where I ran down my top 20, was it? Did I do a top 20? My top favorite visual novels that I had played up until that point. Now, a few new ones have come out. The rankings have changed for a lot of them. And I will probably be making a video addressing the changes more specifically. But in that video, I mostly talked about the good, at least in the top 10. Because the bottom 10, not bottom 10, but 20 through 11 were mostly like, oh, I like it, but I haven't played it much, which is not really much of a review. I do have an opportunity here to talk about the things that are just complaints. Because I make videos. I make videos on these visual novels, and I spend a lot of time talking about what I do and don't like, talking about the praise I have for them, and they could go on forever. I could go on forever with that. But now I want to lay out some of my gripes. Before I get into that, hey, Bri!
Yeah?
How close is food?
I'm just putting the milk and sauce and shit in.
How close is food?
Let's say 10-15 minutes.
Okay, so that definitely is not enough time for me to get through this segment. I'm going to stop the recording here, and I will get back to you after we have eaten. BRB. Nice production value here. Movie magic. And we're back. Food happened. Food was great. Thank you for cooking, Beeb.
No problem.
Now that you are back, I'm actually going to postpone the main event that I mentioned, the gripes of my visual novels. So that'll happen later in this episode. So stay tuned. Yeah, right. Or if this is the standalone video, then yeah, I'll edit around it. Point is, I have one thing. It's a story I wanted to share with you, and then I wanted to go over the Biden list with you.
Biden list?
Yeah, you'll find out what that is when we get to it.
Oh, great.
So, this past Quizmonth, people were mad at the Vicar of Dibley.
It's cool.
People are mad at the Vicar of Dibley.
Why?
Because, just because. No,
Yeah, well,
they did a Christmas special. Due to COVID restrictions, it was just, at least the clip that I saw, I don't know if it was part of a bigger thing, but I only saw the clip that I did. It was just Geraldine by herself. And she was talking about Black Lives Matter. And she gave this kind of mini speech about, supporting it and how crazy it is that something that happened so far away from her little village still reaches them because it is a worldwide thing. Mm-hmm. And how it's insane that it's still happening, and all the things you would say in support of Black Lives Matter. And at the end, she went over and took a sign down off the village post board, and she put up a Black Lives Matter poster, and then she took a knee as the theme song played her out.
Okay, so racist people are mad.
Are mad at her.
And I don't give a shit.
Well, it's... Not everyone who's complaining is saying that they disagree with the message. Some people are complaining that it's too political. People are like, say a joke! You're a comedy show! And
shut the fuck up.
It's so fucking
The
dumb.
Vicar of Dibley has never been not political.
Yeah, all art is political. Like, it's like people who complain that Doctor Who has gotten too political. Literally, the first episode in 1963 was political.
Nobody ever sees a joke in a show that they like that's political and says, haha, but that's too political. Yeah. It's always shit that they're angry that they disagree about. Yeah. So, racist people are mad at the Vicar of Dibley.
It's fucking stupid. And it sucked because people like called the BBC and complained. And I'm trying to remember the actress that plays Geraldine. I'm sorry, I can't think of her name right now, but she posted on Twitter like,
fuck you.
No, she posted on Twitter. She was like, just enjoying the warmth and support of people who are so happy. Oh man. But yeah, it's just I wanted to share that with you because it's like, it's fucking obnoxious.
People suck.
Yeah. So, moving on.
Not to mention, no fucking piece of art ever has to be what you expect it to be.
Yeah. Like, that's one thing that...
I don't want this to be political. Tough shit, Brian. You don't fucking write the show.
Yeah. Like, I that's one thing that, not in so much in the political way, but like, that's one thing that kind of pisses me off a lot about certain wrestling commentators. Not like people who commentate over the act of wrestling, but people who talk about what happens on like the shows, is their complaints will stem from what they want to have happened as opposed to analyzing what did happen. It's like you can talk about, oh, that ending wasn't as satisfying, and then in the era of how it should have ended and all that other stuff, people can talk about what should and shouldn't have happened all they want, and obviously you can do whatever you want.
You can talk about it being better in a different way, but you can't be like, I hate this because it didn't go the way that I think it would have been better.
Yeah.
You gotta be like, this is good, or this is bad, or this is neutral in its own right. However, I think it could have been better as such.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fucking obnoxious in general. But, yeah. Hey, the Biden list. This is a list that I shared with you, which is top things I want from the Biden administration.
Oh, right. Okay,
yes.
Yeah, we did go over this.
The silver line... Well, I showed you the list, but some of the specifics is what we're going to get into here. At any point, if you are not interested in whatever I'm talking about, feel free to do your own thing.
Oh, you were so crushed, babe. No, it was a joke. I love you. Babe, there's no cookie tweet. There's no cookie bush.
This is straight up, like, it's what you do with children. Like, when they get upset, then you just like, oh, you want to watch SpongeBob? Like, no.
You wanna quiz me?
I want to quake me. Fuck. It worked. I just don't want you to feel forced.
No, do you want me to go over my tiny list?
Well, the stuff in your list is in my list.
I know, but...
We'll be discussing them as we go.
Okay.
Because it's not just like, education reform, yep.
Right.
Healthcare, yep.
Agree.
So, the setup here is, for the first time in, it has to be at least decades, if not longer, we have a legislative and congressional branch, a legislative and executive branch, I should say, that are of the same political party. I fucking hate political parties, but this is where we're at. This is the system we have. So to make it the best of the system we have, it works best in terms of productivity when you got the executive and the legislative branch holding hands, working together to get shit done. And in addition to that, in the legislative branch, you have two different chambers. And that is the most productive when there is one party ruling a majority of both chambers, the Senate and the House of Representatives. And because of the election that we had this past year, and most specifically because of the Georgia special election that happened just about a week or so ago, we now have a Democratic majority in the Senate and the House. Well, the Senate, it's 50-50 in the Senate, but the tiebreaker is going to be a Democratic vice president, so it is a technical Democratic majority.
In the House and the Senate, and a Democrat
president.
I almost said pubsident.
And that will be officially all put together on the 20th. This is being recorded on the 11th. So we got 9 days. 9 days to Biden. God damn it, I can't wait.
We just biding our time. We just biding our time.
Are we biding our time, baby? Oh, my God.
Domestic abuse can be a very, very powerful learning tool. And sometimes I wonder if it shouldn't be more common.
Let's find out.
Ah! Stop! Jesus!
Drum solo!
Alright, let's go. Obviously, domestic violence is fucking terrible.
No, that's a really just shitty joke on our part.
Yeah.
That's house humor.
Yeah.
Because we're trauma-ridden.
Yeah. So, now that we have the possibility of having a, New Deal era level of just passing a million things all at once, at least for the first 2 years, because we don't know how things will change. Usually, when you have whoever's the president in power, usually in the second election, the second congressional election every 2 years. Every 2 years, there's an election, and every 4 years, there's a president on the ballot. When the president's not on the ballot, generally, Congress will sway towards the opposite side because less people vote, and when less people vote, they just sort of go with, do I like the guy at the top, yes or no? Most of the time, it's a no. Because new always seems better, and so they go with the opposite side. Also, when less people vote, Republicans tend to win, because it's stupid. But anyway, so these are some of the things that could be passed when you have a majority all going together. And not all these are the same level of priority. There are some of these things that I would just like, and some of these things are fucking necessary. What?
It's my head a little bit.
What's wrong?
You're just being loud.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I don't want to...
No, it's okay. It's a sensitive microphone. It's fine. Is talking down here okay?
Yeah. I'm just worried it's going to flare up, and then I don't want to ruin the episode.
Oh, well, if I have to, I'll turn into an ASMR style, and I'll just be right on here, and we cut it.
Sand cutting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we watch
crunch.
these ASMR videos of people cutting kinetic sand.
It puts me to sleep like nobody's fucking business. It is so soothing.
Very satisfying.
And I didn't think I'd ever like ASMR before that.
Yeah. So yeah, these are not all the same priority, and there's not even a list. It literally just came up as I was thinking about them. The number one is healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
Biden is for Medicare for all that want it. So if you have a private health insurance plan, you can keep it. If you don't want it, you can opt into a government-sponsored plan.
Agree. I would like to see a doctor without it being an emergency.
Yeah. And I personally want Medicare for all as a default, and then if you want anything additional, you can pay for that. But I think we should. Ooh, there's another one.
Especially me, I need my medications and treatment for a couple of things, but it's too pricey at my work, even though they do, what is it called, subsidize? I don't know. I don't work there. They give us plans, and it's not to say the plans are even all that expensive. Like, the base plan is a bit over $100, which is really fucking good. The place before I worked, at this place, it was like $80. Even fucking better. But the point is that even with it being that cheap, I can't afford it.
Yeah, and since I'm unemployed on Medicaid, and so I, making no money, can have health insurance, but you, who is saving people's lives for a living, can't. Mm-hmm. So fucking dumb. Every American citizen should have default life-saving and life-nurturing healthcare as a human right.
I agree. And that's my number one. If nothing else, that's what I really want pushed. Because people need to see the doctor, man.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
I mean, I can understand if it's like, oh, you want to get cosmetic surgery or a lot of crazy, off-the-wall type shit.
Yeah, that's all extra. But
that you would pay with that through insurance. But it's like, I have a heart condition or I have diabetes, and if I don't get medication or insulin, I will die.
Yeah.
You need to...
Basically, health insurance to make people raised to a bar of livable with comfort. Mm-hmm. Not extra shit, but like under our current health insurance stuff, even in private health insurances, a lot of them list bariatric surgery as cosmetic, and so they won't cover it.
See, and I am under...
Be very careful. Don't touch the cord at all.
Sorry, but I am a person who believes that denying people at least basic health care is completely unconstitutional, and it goes against, of course, human rights. Yeah. Because it's a direct conflict of your right to life, literally.
Yeah. Cruel and unusual punishment.
Yeah. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness? Well, you gotta pay to live, honey. No.
Number 2 is student debt relief.
Mm-hmm.
There is more student debt now than there ever has been. There's more now than will ever be able to be paid. It is coming. The amount of debt we have in just students in cumulative in America is more than the GDP of most countries.
I feel like I'm a little tied, because that's out of my list of 3 things, that is the 3rd thing that I would like to see. But more, I want to see debt reform, because universities are marking up their services like 10s and 20 times what it's actually costing. They're absolutely so like destroying people. And it's to the point where I'm like, part of me wants to be like, I don't think that for-profit institutions should exist, but at the same time, I don't want to tell people what can be private enterprise and not. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, like, certain things I think shouldn't be. Like, one of the things we'll get to is prison reform. I think for-profit prisons are a goddamn disgrace to humanity.
Oh yeah, no, I deeply disagree with that.
Yeah, you agree with me, but with
Yeah,
the
I
idea
disagree with for-profit prisons. That's monstrous.
Yeah. But with universities, the way I figure it is, as long as there are government-sponsored public schools that are a viable alternative in the area, and as long as the private universities uphold to the basic standard of a public school, academically and condition of facilities and for care for students, I think private universities should be for places where, if you want stuff that is above that, like not just a basic dorm, but hey, you have your own apartment here. Mm-hmm. Or if you want a religious school, you can have that, or anything like that. I think that would be fine. And at that point, then that's cool. But like, if like in Ottawa, unless you wanted to go to fucking KU, which is 30-40 I got nervous because I'm used to doing video with my audio, and so when you lifted your shirt to wipe your nose, I was like,
titties.
They're gonna hear your tits. 30-40 miles one way to get to KU. If you want to go an hour out of your way, you can get to Emporia University. If you go another hour in a different direction, you get Johnson County Community College. And yeah, there is Neosho Community College in Ottawa, but that's a community college.
Even heck, JCCC doesn't do bachelor's.
No, that's just a community college.
Yeah.
So if you can't afford to go well out of town, or if you work in town, you live in town, whatever, for whatever reason, you can't go 30-40 minutes out of your way by minimum, then you're stuck with Ottawa University, which is where you went, and it is a private school. It is not like snooty tooty private.
I was going to say, I wouldn't consider myself stuck with Ottawa University. I loved it there, even if a couple of things irked me.
Well, yeah, but like, a large reason you went is because of the scholarship you were offered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But you could have gone to KU if they had given you a comparable scholarship, but it would have been harder for you.
Oh yeah, considerably harder.
And Ottawa University is a religious college, and you're not religious. You were at the time, but even then you were uncomfortable with it being mandatory.
Yeah. I was more religious when I began going, but
less religious after you were there. Isn't that funny how that works?
I wouldn't consider those to be...
No, it wasn't because of that, but
yeah,
it is true.
I was already on a road to self-discovery when I joined Ottawa University, and my religiosity was waning. But
that's how I think when it comes to student debt, because we could also talk about education reform since that is on the list, since we're already here. Let's go ahead and just mark that off the list so we don't talk the same things. I think public schools should, like, one thing that I learned that they do is they'll like invent new buildings just so that they can have a project on their budget. And if they have the project on their budget, they get allocated more money, and that justifies the jump in tuition. Like, most of the times this is a football field or some sort of student union. They can't
like
hear
speaking in tongues over here.
I was going to say, they can't hear you doing that face.
But I don't want you, because I enjoy football enough, but...
Yeah, the way that football teams just fuck over local governments and local communities by just gouging them financially is absolutely absurd. And in colleges, it's much of the same way. Like, I don't remember which college it was, but they were like, every 4 to 8 years, they were rebuilding their stadium. Like, yeah, it's an athletic thing. You're going to need to replace it every once in a while, but not every 4 fucking years.
Meanwhile, you're shutting down the fucking art department. Stop!
Yeah, like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And
I am completely fine with schools or fucking colleges, whatever. If they want to put extra money and care and attention into their athletics problems, great, wonderful, 1,000,000%, go ahead. But it's when they start taking money from other, for me, in my belief, art is absolutely essential. So essential programs and funneling it, no.
yeah, and that's the thing, is a large part of it is it gets more attention. Football gets more attention. It gets more money.
It gets more concussions.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you that art is not only more important in general, but it is essential. And so gutting other programs in order to overinflate a fucking budget where you protect abusive fucking coaches. The worst coaches are always in college athletics. Second place to high school. Second place goes to high school, I should say. But, yeah. In general, that kind of shit needs to be taken out. Tuition needs to go towards student amenities that fucking matter. Like, the fact that we have state-of-the-art student unions and football fields and school-sponsored fucking video games systems, like, those are cool. I don't want to share a bathroom with the entire floor of my dorm.
Okay, now I gotta pitch in here.
Uh-huh.
At Ottawa University, which I will reiterate again, I adore that college.
They can't take away your degree for criticizing.
No, but I'm saying that because I do legitimately love them. I loved the time I put in there. I loved the people I met. I loved the faculty especially.
You told me to scream "fuck this school" as I drove past it.
Yeah, because it was funny.
Yeah, that sounds like a pure joke.
But
You full of shit.
I'm not. God, stop trying to make me what you want me to be. Just understand how I feel.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, when I was going there, they demolished and were rebuilding the student union. And I think you saw the new student union.
I did. The big dome.
Yeah, it's beautiful, it's fancy, it has an upgraded kitchen, it's got a whole lot of meeting rooms. But I, at the time, was living in Brown Hall. And Brown Hall flooded every rainy season. And the drains constantly exploded.
Yep.
And people had to, some of the electric shit was so old that if someone got so much as a whiff of smoke in the community kitchen, all the fire alarms had to go off and you'd had to evacuate at 3 a.m. because some fuck didn't know how to properly cook ramen noodles.
Yeah.
Like,
I saw your dorms. I wasn't supposed to, but I saw your dorms. It was more akin to a fucking prison. It was wall-to-wall fucking off-white and yellow tile.
Brown Hall just had a whole lot of shot carpet, and it's definitely it's the worst hall of the bunch.
Yeah.
Now the other ones, like Bennett, which is the one I bumped up to, which I also hated, not because of anything with Bennett Hall, because compared to Brown, Bennett Hall is immaculate, and you get your own showers, and you have your own little kitchenette, and it's absolutely beautiful and wonderful. However, you have to live with at least 2 other people.
Jesus.
And I hated that, because at Brown Hall, yeah, I had to take my naked ass across the hall to take a shower and everything else, but I got my own room.
Yeah. You weren't supposed to.
I wasn't really supposed to. They just ran out of kids to, there was an odd number of people who applied, and I thankfully got the room to myself. But, Bennett Hall was so much better. Unfortunately, I'm not a fucking social person.
Nah.
And I had to deal with way more energy and interaction that I could feasibly deal with.
Stop fucking with it.
I'm trying to keep it okay.
Yeah, I know what I'm fucking doing, man.
And then there was Martin Hall, which Martin Hall was like a palace. Seriously. It was beautiful and like if you think centuries old private university, like fucking Harvard or something, would you imagine their dorms to be like with all the hardwood and the marble and beautiful bullshit? That's basically what Martin Hall was. But you got big rooms with like your own kitchen and I think multiple bathrooms and whatever else. But in that hall you had to have at least 7 roommates.
Good God!
Yes, you had to share like a big apartment. So...
And all of these dorms are on the same campus.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck?
And that's what pissed me off the most, really, was just like... I get the student union, it really did need an update. Because it was also really old. The library, too, was like sinking into the ground, so they moved the library into the new student union. Got that. Wonderful. But also, there's rain coming through my roof.
Yeah, meanwhile, they're fucking sponsoring a goddamn YMCA or some shit.
Right.
And it's like... And that's just one school. When I was at UMKC, I didn't stay in a dorm, but I visited the dorms a couple times. And there was piping across the ceiling. The walls were made of sandpaper. You had to share your bathroom with the room next to you. The room was literally... The entire room was smaller than our bedroom here. And we can't even open our door all the way.
Especially not when the bed isn't fixed.
Yeah, but even when a bed is fixed, it still scrapes the fucking bed with the door. Point is, like, that's just a part of it. Priority for tuition in public schools needs to be fucking way reformed. Another part of education reform. Budget distribution should be fucking way redone.
Yeah.
There is no excuse for giving less money to a school in a poor neighborhood that's doing worse.
What fucking sense does it make? Honestly. Because they're like, oh, this poor neighborhood school, it's not doing well. Let's cut funding. What? Hey, these people don't have the materials to learn? Fuck them.
Yeah.
What the fuck does that...
And speaking of that, teacher salaries need to be increased. So much more.
Even when I was like a kid, I firmly and I still believe that teachers should earn about the same as like doctors.
Yeah.
I am not fucking around with that. I believe that teachers should have like an $80K fucking salary minimum.
Yeah. The fact that teachers have to pay out of pocket for classroom materials is a goddamn disgrace. And also, increase the counseling and medical services at your schools. Put that in the budget. And also, security needs to be more practical. Students aren't allowed to take their backpacks to class. In some schools, you're not even allowed to take a backpack to school. Like, you gotta carry all the books, which are now mostly on laptops, but still you gotta carry your laptop, your binder, all your paper, your pencils, all that into a fucking binder.
I also just think that the way we teach right now should also be drastically reformed.
Definitely.
Because
I'm glad they got rid of Common Core. That was absolute bullshit.
our school system, at least here in the U.S., is funneled over factory work.
Yeah.
It's an institution that was born
to
around...
prepare you for the workforce.
Exactly, around, like, what, the Industrial Revolution or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kept like that, but now it's got to the point where, you know, our society is so advanced, there's a lot more computers. A lot of these jobs that we're being quote-unquote prepared for are completely obsolete, and we need more creative solutions. Yeah. But you get to school, and you're like, how do I do taxes? And they're like, fucking square dance.
Yeah. They teach you so many impractical things. Like,
And it's just memorization and regurgitation. And then
Yeah.
it's gone as
you're
quickly.
at school for too long. They get rid of recess way too early. The lunches are too short. The lunch food is fucking gross. The schools are abysmally understaffed and underprepared. The buildings are crumbling. There's way too much going into athletics, not enough into the arts. The required credits to graduate are absolutely ridiculous. Why do I need to take so many math classes to get a high school diploma? If I'm going to be a mathematician or in a career that needs math, I'll get that in college. But just getting out of high school, the bare minimum to get a service industry job, you do not need to know calculus. You don't need to know a lot of these things. Like history, I can understand that. Historical context will prepare you to live in a modern world. Very important. Science, certain things. I would like to be able to convert to to Celsius, because that shit needs to happen, by the way. The conversion to metric, that is long over fucking due, and that's also on my list, so I'm going to X that off. The conversion to the metric system needs to fucking happen.
I don't know why.
We're like the only ones that don't do it.
So the fuck what?
So the fuck what? If you go to another country, you'll be fucked.
No, you just look it up or do the conversion in your head.
Okay, so let's say you're driving on a road in Canada.
Uh-huh.
You look at a speed sign.
Mm-hmm.
What does it say?
It says like 140 kilometers per hour or whatever.
What does your car say?
It says 140 right behind the 60.
Yeah, and you have to fucking look at the other thing. It changes your shit. People have to manufacture stuff specifically for America that isn't used anywhere else. Feet and inches make no sense in terms of measurement. The metric system's more practical, it makes more sense, and it would streamline industry and save billions of dollars in multiple industries. It just makes fucking sense.
I mean, I disagree.
Why does America have to learn a different way to measure stuff than the rest of the world?
What?
The imperial system is not used in almost any other country. So why the fuck are we learning something else? Just because we're stubborn.
It's not stubbornity. It's just that's what our culture. That's like being like, how come Koreans have to eat rice with everything? Just learn how to eat vegetables and other shit.
That's not at all the same.
It is very much the same.
That is a very hollow. That is not even close to the same thing at all.
Yes, because I already understand the metric system, and I get a whole bunch of people who are like, "Fuck the metric." I use the metric system, and I use feet and inches and whatever else the same. It's also just like learning a new language, and it's like, there's not a fucking reason to convert. Like, I understand, yeah, sure, we could convert to metric system and maybe shipping in things would be slightly easier, but that would take generations and generations of work, and we're getting imports just fucking fine right now.
It would not take generations. It would not take generations to adapt. Like, there are so many things that seem fundamental that has to have been this way forever. It's only decades old. And even then, it became...
We were using feet and inches back in fucking England, King James, whatever the fuck times.
Yeah, that's because it's based in those arbitrary, non-scientific ways. A foot is as long as some king's foot was. That's the basis of it.
That's not fucking true.
There's no reason for it to be that length. But with the metric system, it's all based in decimals. It makes sense. But with the rest of the world having to bend to our will to stick to this antiquated, out-of-date system...
The world does not have to bend to our will. We're not the only fucking country that uses the imperial system.
Yeah, we're like the only industrialized modern country that does.
So the fuck what?
So the fuck why?
So the fuck, because that's how we've done it. They've done the metric system. That's fine. That works for them. When we ship shit to them, we convert it to the metric system. Cool, fine, easy. Same thing the other way. There's no reason to have to completely conform to all the other countries in the world because, oh, well, you know, that's just how they're doing it. Like, I understand to them, completely makes sense. I've used the metric system with my whole biology, whatever. Metric system makes sense. I don't have to fucking put my tape measure into meters. It doesn't fucking matter.
They don't. The rest of the world ain't doing it just because they think it. They just want to. It's not a matter of conformity for the conformity's sake. It works better. You know,
it's the same fucking height and everything else. How come 5'6"? You can be 5'6" and then be like, oh, that's 3.47 meters. Why does it fucking matter?
It matters because it's a matter of standard measurement to a lot of other things. It matters because, okay, when we were doing stuff with the space race, whenever we were collaborating with another country, we had to convert all of our measurements just to figure any simple shit out to work with anyone else.
Cool, and now all that's fucking automated. It doesn't matter.
It's not all automated. In a globalized society, it makes no sense for us to hold on to a system that does not work as well.
It works perfectly fine.
For what you're trying to do, but you're not a fucking scientist. You're not a manufacturer. You're not someone who has to build cars. You're not someone who has to figure out... You're not international traveling. You're not fucking doing a lot of things that would require this type of stuff. And it would be made way simpler if it was made uniformly.
Cars and everything else aren't going to fall apart because instead of someone saying make the car 20 feet, they say make the car 5 point whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, but it costs money to make those
The labels
things.
are arbitrary.
Everything
Is...
arbitrary.
No, yes, they fucking are.
It's not. It's not arbitrary when you have to make additional effort into making a tool. Individually, that might not seem like a lot of effort, but you compound it with however many cars are being made, and street signs and road signs and all these other things are made bit by bit to add up to a fuckload of money.
But even then, places like manufacturing and science and whatever else, we still already use fucking grams and all that other shit. It's already being used as a metric.
Yeah,
People in America know both imperialistic and metric system.
Not for everything,
and it works
not
fine.
Not widespread, and not for everything.
It doesn't need to be widespread.
Yes, it does, because it makes no sense to measure yourself in feet and inches, but when it comes to measuring a football field, or not a football field because that's in yards, but measuring a certain length in centimeters versus yourself in feet and inches, just because that's how it's always been done. There is no reason for something to just be done because that's how it always has been. That argument is not a good argument for anything.
The argument is that it would be way too fucking costly and take way too much time for us to transfer over when our system that we use already, which uses both fucking things, doesn't need to be changed. It works fine.
No.
There's literally no difference in regular life saying somebody's 5 foot or 3 whatever fucking meters. Use whatever you want. That's fine. But our science and mechanical and all that other kind of industries are already using the metric system, and it's fine.
Using two different systems for the same thing in the same process complicates it. It makes it unnecessarily complicated.
I'm not fucking making meth at home. I don't need to know how many grams it is for me to measure myself on a doorpost.
But you're not the only person in the world.
Cool.
Other people fucking matter, and the
Yeah,
things that...
and we're all getting along fine. There's not some fucking scientist in a laboratory sweating because he's added fucking 2 grams to a thing, and he's like, oh god, how many fucking flour per centimeter is that? That's not how it fucking works.
How much time do people in math classes have to spend learning the imperial system and then learning the metric system? That time could be spent for more useful topics.
It's fucking none because you just plug it into a converter. Some do it automatically.
Some, yes, not all. And it still has to be taught. Because school isn't just look it up and that's the whole thing. School is about actually learning a thing, not about just plugging it in and doing it.
We just fucking disagree about this.
Yeah.
I think that what you're asking for is completely arbitrary.
I think your arguments are completely misguided. Moving on. See, it's more interesting to listen to when we actually have opposing viewpoints. Like, we're going to be talking about this after the recording's done. But it's way more interesting for people to hear other than, I think this. Yep, I think that too.
I don't like the term you used with misguided.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it goes to show that we're not at any point trying to insult each other.
My argument isn't misguided. It's just that you don't agree with it.
It's not just that. I genuinely feel
like it's not fucking misguided.
And I do, but that's not an insult.
My argument isn't that's how it's been the whole fucking time, so we don't need to change it.
Okay. I feel like... Oh, it scared me. My phone lit up without expecting it to.
It's like when the toast comes out of the toaster.
Right? Like, I forget I make toast until that moment.
Same.
But no, I genuinely feel like if you looked more into the ramifications, it's on my part of the list because I've looked into it and I've whatever.
You think I haven't?
No, you just haven't done what I have done to the extent I have.
Uh-huh.
I'm not calling you uneducated or misinformed. What I'm saying is, it doesn't seem like...
You think with me going into biology and physics, I haven't seriously considered the ramifications of the entire country switching into the metric system and how that would affect the economy and all that other kind of shit.
Okay, you going into a field does not mean you've looked into all of the things. And I haven't even looked into all of the things.
Science and math are the biggest industries that using the metric system or converting would have any real fucking effect.
There's more. Manufacturing, labor for housing, infrastructure, a lot of these things, fucking the military... A lot of these things all use differing systems to make the same thing.
Yeah, and it works perfectly fine. Because whether you want to call a house 60 feet or fucking 20 kilometers, it doesn't fucking matter. It's the same size. I don't know how much 20 kilometers is.
20 kilometers is way more than 60.
I know, but you get what the fuck
yes, I do,
mean.
Yes.
You might as well be like, oh, we're going to build a house? Well, it's got to be 140 bananas long. Cool. If you know what 140 bananas means.
You're spitting on me now. Don't do that when you know if I do it to you, then you'll freak out.
To me, it's literally... the same as calling an orange in England and an orange naranjas in Spanish. But you're not going to be like, well, Spain has to fucking convert to English. It would be absolutely stupid, and it affects very little. Because, yeah, you got to translate everything to fucking English from Spain. Well, not everything, because, you know, there's other countries that speak like Turkish and shit. Yeah. But you get what I mean.
That's one example of another language. I don't see it that way.
Well, I do.
Okay.
And I don't appreciate you saying...
I'm not calling you misguided. I'm not... What I am saying is... And it's not just because I disagree with it. Because, I mean, there's an inherent respect that I have tried my best to say as many times as possible that I have for your opinions and you as a thinker and as an educated person. Mm-hmm. I know you to be smarter than I am. However, that doesn't mean that when it comes to all of our opinions and all of the things that build into our opinions, that they haven't come from the same place, that they haven't gone to the same extent, that they haven't considered the differing viewpoints. When it comes into it, I feel like a lot of the arguments that you have said are not based in examining the biggest picture. I think you have looked into the segments that you have, and you have come to the conclusion you have based on whatever viewpoints you came across in the independent research that you did. I am not doubting the validity of the research you did. What I am saying is that I think that the things you looked into were based in the wrong perspective, possibly, or at the very least, we're not looking at as big a picture as possible, because I see the burden on the manufacturing industry as being way bigger than you seem to. And I also see the problem of two systems in one country for the same thing being a way bigger issue in terms of educational resources, time spent, and overall complication of what should be a simple thing, a bigger issue than you seem to. And when it comes down to it, I know this isn't a matter of you just not getting it, because obviously you do. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is I don't see how you can fully know the full scope of this and not see it as a problem. I'm not saying that this is a life or death scenario.
No, but to me, in that vein, if it were me, I would not say you are misguided. I would say I disagree with you.
Well, that's the thing. I didn't say you were misguided.
Yeah, you said
I
that.
said I think your opinions are misguided.
That's
not the
same fucking thing.
It might sound like it, but you know how much I am particular with the words. You are not misguided. I think what you are thinking about this topic is not properly focused.
That's still a fucking insult. And it's not fucking true. If you understand how much work and research and all of my experience that I get into an argument, that doesn't mean my argument is misguided. It means that while you understand my points, you disagree with their conclusion and the scope of things. That's fine. That doesn't make me misguided. That just means you disagree with me.
You're equivalating you and your opinions.
Yeah, it's my fucking brain!
Yeah, there are a lot of things that come out of your brain, but it ain't the same things. You are not what you think about things. You are more than that. When it comes down to it, I'm not saying, like, if we were at a shooting range...
My opinion didn't crack open a book and decide itself.
Yeah, you formed your opinion. Ergo, you made your opinion. Ergo, your opinion is not you, because you made the thing.
Yeah, I fucking made it. It's a part... You know what?
When it comes to... Here's my analogy. We're at a shooting range. We're shooting at targets. You're in your lane, I'm in mine.
I turn and I shoot you because you called me misguided.
I didn't call you misguided. God, you take things personally. We're in our own stalls, right? I did not think this was going to be the issue. I wrote metric system on a whim.
Little did you know, this is a heated topic.
Right. Jesus Christ. We don't disagree on things very often politically, but apparently...
like you go over... It's
I need to finish this analogy or I'm going to lose it. Stop tapping this arm. It's attached to a microphone. We're in our own stalls. We have the same gun. The gun represents the amount of effort and work we've put into our forming of our opinion. Our gun is our opinion. The conclusion is the target.
Gotcha.
I believe I'm not at a bullseye because I haven't looked into everything, but I'm hitting the target, getting a good point. I feel like at some point in your research, someone told you to look at a different part of your gun to figure out where the bullseye is. Someone along the way, something happened. I don't know what it is. I wasn't there. Told you that instead of looking down the scope, you should look down the barrel. And that's it.
I disagree. What I would paint it as, using your analogy, is that we're at the shooting range, same gun, same whatever. When you shoot, you're shooting for the head, and when I shoot, I'm shooting for the chest. And you're looking at me and saying, well, that's misguided. No, it's two completely valid points of hitting.
I can see why it seems like that's what I'm saying, but I promise you that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that because I disagree that means you're wrong.
That's not what I'm saying
I know.
either.
And that's not. I'm also not saying that just because we disagree that I'm calling that misguided.
Mm-hmm.
My point is that I feel like there were some bad faith arguments at some point in your research that you found. And possibly there was some points of view that were too narrow. And despite you looking into that, into other things that were possibly not that, they're still in there. And so they're moving your hand away from the conclusion, and that if we did some more independent research or research together at some point, maybe I could move over to your side if I see the impact being lower, or you could move to my side if your perspective comes closer to mine.
So could I call you misguided?
If you really felt that, because again, I didn't call you misguided, I called your opinions misguided. If you called my opinions misguided, and if you genuinely believed that, then yes. And I would not take that as an insult, because I would disagree that my opinions are misguided, obviously, as you disagree with me saying that about your opinions. But I don't equivalate me with my opinions, and I know that you wouldn't be calling me that as an insult, just as I'm not calling you that as an insult. I'm not calling you that at all. I'm not calling your opinions as an insult. I'm not trying to insult you. I just feel like you're not looking at the bigger picture, and you're minimizing things that shouldn't be minimized, because at some point, despite all the research you did, and I know you did it because you're smart and you don't just assume things are true based off of an article or a headline. I know you to be smarter than that and more thorough. I feel like you just missed the target.
I was laughing because it's kind of funny to think that this is a disagreement in opinion that was compounded because we have different styles of communication as well.
Yeah. Like, I am way more particular about the specific words I say, and that can really just not communicate well when people just sort of decide that certain things are not to be discerned from each other.
Because I'm kind of an emotional communicator.
Kind of.
Just
you're
a little
half
tiny
Scottish,
bit.
half Puerto Rican. You don't do anything that isn't emotionally led.
Listen, okay? I am not dramatic. I am emotional.
Oh, fuck.
But okay. Well, I would be interested to see what data you have that made you form that opinion.
Yeah, I'd have to find it again. I don't have, like, metric system data saved on my computer.
Yeah, me fucking either.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
In 20 years or 10 minutes, whatever the fuck is gonna be.
We got a lot more on this list I need to get through, and I don't want this podcast to be too long.
But I was just fucking laughing at the idea of, like, it's like, we're going to Nana's house. Don't talk about abortion. Where it's like, we're going to Bri and Viv's house. Do not fucking bring up the metric system. Do you want this marriage to fail?
And the whole reason this turned into a fight is because you took it personally, man. I was not upset at any point. You
leave my feet alone. I like my inches. It's so cute.
Oh man. So on a less contentious note, gun control.
I was gonna say the second thing on the list now: gun control.
Yeah. Well, we've gotten through 4 things. 2 on purpose, 2 accidentally. We both agree with this.
I don't think there's too much to say.
Yeah. Universal background checks, ban on assault rifles, national gun registry for those who are buying firearms and buying ammo, and if you should have to pass training, large amount of training, a psychological evaluation, a criminal background check, and at least yearly check-ins in order to own a rifle.
It reminds me of this woman who grew up in the U.S. And she was talking about her adventures, basically, as she traveled around to lots of different countries. And she went to a convention in one of the countries, and she heard a loud, like, popping noise.
Yeah, and she was the only one that ducked.
And she was the only one who ducked. And then when everyone was looking at her, like she had went batshit insane, that's when she realized, oh,
yeah,
mass shootings aren't normal in other places.
No, they're not. So, yeah,
I think that's also just a big thing about American culture in general, is that Americans are taught to be quite fucking self-centered.
Yeah.
In the way that we think, oh yeah, every place has lemonade. Yeah, how things are here, that's how it is everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, in Europe, and it's closer knit in Europe in terms of distance to countries, but a way higher percentage of Europeans have passports than Americans do. And most Americans who have passports don't use them.
Yeah.
And if they do use them, and even most of those people just use it to get to Canada.
Yeah.
Like, or Mexico. Like, international travel, I believe this about anything. The key to getting out of your small fucking mindset is to experience other worlds.
Oh, yeah.
That's why more progressive people are in the cities where more diverse cultures are.
Travel broadens the mind.
Exactly. And that's why you get the fucking stereotype of the small town fucking hick who thinks that everyone's out to get them because they've never been out of the side of their small town. We're both from small towns, and I think we had the advantage of the information age on our side.
I was just about to bring that up, yeah.
Yeah. We're more globalized now than ever before, so it's easier for us, but there are multiple generations of people that grew up in a small town that just had enough to be by itself, and so they never had a reason to know anything else.
Can I tell the story about Ivy's dad and mom on, like, their first date?
I don't know it, so go ahead.
They met in Germany while they were...
Wow.
Yeah, they met in Germany while they were both in the military.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of this.
Yeah. You would not look at fucking...
Either of them.
Yeah, and...
They don't seem military at all.
Ivy's mom makes decorative cakes.
Yeah, and Ivy's dad is like the most aloof, funny, weirdo, cool guy.
They're very artistic people. So it is... Not that military people can't be artistic.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Yeah, there is a stereotype and they don't fit it.
Yeah. But anyway, so they met in Germany while they were out doing their military thing. And in Germany, it is polite, quote unquote, to stare. They don't really care all that much. Whereas here in America, if you stare at someone, you're trying to start a fight.
Yeah, or you're just generally weird.
So they were eating. I think he said it was like a McDonald's or anything. Apologies if I butcher the story because it has been a while. But they were eating together, and this man was hardcore staring at Ivy's mom while she was eating. And there, it's completely accepted and polite. You know, he's just people watching. Or he's hungry or whatever else. And Ivy's dad got so fucking upset because this man is sitting there staring at his girlfriend just like eagle-eyed on her and his...
I thought this is how they met.
No, sorry. This is their first date.
Sorry.
Sorry. I messed that up. I did say met. But anyway, so he's fucking eagle-eyeing Ivy's mom and her burger. And he was getting so upset. And he was getting up to go and, like, say things. And then people around him had to be like, no, you know, this is how it works here.
Yeah.
You know, he's not doing anything. He's just people watching.
Yeah.
And Ivy's dad describes it as the time I probably almost got my ass kicked by a German homeless man.
Yeah. Like,
because he got irate over something that was completely acceptable.
Yeah, and so he almost got fucking beat to shit because he just didn't know a local custom. And in a lot of countries, staring is normal. And so, yeah, if you...
That hilariously to me seems so unnerving. But I'm already, like, aversion to social interaction.
And you got to imagine how much of that is due to the culture you grew up in.
Yeah.
Because, like, even just moving from Kansas to Chicago, Chicago's a fucking state. Moving from...
Well, the mayor seems to think so. She's there every time.
Oh, my God. Moving to a different state... from Midwest to, I guess Midwest, but South Midwest to North Midwest.
It is a culture shift.
There it is, because now, in Kansas, you wave at people when they drive past you, or you nod, or you do something. You do that here, and people will look at you like you're trying to fight them.
Yeah.
They're just like, what the fuck? What?
I accidentally took a guy off guard today, or not today, but last Tuesday when I was going to the office, because I did a little bit of my Kansan eked out, and as I passed a nice gentleman on the street, I said, "Hi, good morning," and he was like, "Hello," and I was like, "Oh, I shouldn't have done that."
Yeah. I don't know how much shit I got from people for saying howdy.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh, howdy." I'm like,
Right.
fuck you.
Or like here in Illinois, it's not even so much, "Oh, you say something to me, you want to fight," as there is like, when you talk to someone in Illinois, it means that you're interested in carrying on a fucking conversation.
Yeah.
So then when you just pass by and leave.
Yeah. There's like a person, it's almost insulting.
Right.
Like, they're like, well, what the fuck? Why did you stop me?
Yeah.
If you're not going to fucking talk, like, it has to be a big deal. It's fucking weird. By the way, I do have one thing I forgot to include in education reform. We need to get the fuck away from propagandic education. Like, Trump passed that, like, Lincoln Project or whatever the fuck. I don't remember, but it was in that same post that you were referencing with the person ducking of, like, there is so much shit that is taught in American schools about history and about culture. Straight up not fucking true. It's all designed to make America look good. Like, Manifest Destiny. That is a racist imperialist term that murdered millions of fucking innocent natives.
How is it taught in school? Oh, people got in their wagons and
by
golly, they went to the coast.
It's like Oregon Trail.
With big dreams of
and
settling
God
out
shining
there.
the light on them. Like,
Yeah, no, they just murdered people across the country.
straight up genocide.
Yeah.
But it's never called that. Hell, who's on our fucking $20 bill? The Trail of Tears guy. Harriet Tubman still ain't on the 20 because Trump decided.
I'm trying to remember when I last saw a 20.
We don't see much cash anymore. But like,
that's both a poor joke and an electronic joke.
But yeah, like, there's so much, like, we idolize these fucking people, but we forget what they did, or we gloss over the bad things. Like, if you look at an American map, there's a big fucking line going from Oklahoma all the way to California or Nevada. That is a scar on our nation because that comes from the compromises that were made trying to prevent the Civil War. You know, above this line is free state, below this line is slave state. That's what that line is. Now people just see it as the fucking map. They don't know what that fucking is. But that's what it actually is. People don't know it. I had to learn about the Japanese internment camps off of the fucking internet because my education system did not mention it.
Nope.
I learned about the Korean War from MASH. It had a paragraph in our textbook that we did not read.
I learned about the Japanese internment camps from one cool history teacher, and I was fucking flabbergasted about it.
Yeah.
I was like, we held Japanese people on American soil during the war, and he's like, no, these were Japanese citizens that we stuffed in ghettos, basically, and starved and tortured. And I was like, Japanese Americans that were spying for Japan?
No.
And he's like, no, completely innocent Japanese Americans that we were treating like shit. And I said, but why would we do that if they're American citizens? And he was like, because everyone was scared.
Yeah. And they just stripped them of their rights, and we did this almost some of the same shit that Hitler was doing and that we were fighting against, but we did it ourselves. Hell, you know,
God, I would almost call it one and the same.
Yeah. You remember in Barney Miller, the Sergeant Yamana?
Uh-huh.
His stage name is Jack Sue. He is dead, unfortunately. But Jack Sue, that's not his main name. he is Japanese. He was in an internment camp when he was a child. And through comedy and being funny, he learned that he could charm his way into getting, like, better treatment. Mm-hmm. He didn't ever get treated good. No one got treated good.
God, of course not. Better treatment was an extra loaf of bread.
Yeah. But he learned to goof, and that's how he learned comedy could save people's lives.
Oh, yeah.
And when he got out of the internment camp at the end of the war, his family had nothing because all the people had their lives taken away. They had to start from the beginning.
And they lost their land. Yeah. They lost anything to their name.
And it just because the war was over didn't mean people just trusted the Japanese again out of nowhere.
Hell no.
Like, COVID didn't end just because it's January again. Like, and so his stage name, he changed it to Jack Sue to make it sound Chinese. Mm-hmm. Because he knew Americans couldn't tell the difference. And since we didn't have a beef with the Chinese at that point, they helped us. So, yeah, there you go. And so he got a whole career by having to deny his heritage. And, God damn it, he was good. He was a good comedian. He should not have had to do that. And that wasn't hundreds of years ago. That's another thing about American history. It's like, it's framed as if all the shit was ancient history. That just because it's in black and white means it happened forever ago.
It's like, this was 20 years ago.
Yeah. Barney Miller was on TV 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. 50. There was a Civil War veteran that lived to hear Elvis on the radio.
Man, my mom wasn't even born yet by the time Barney Miller was on air.
Yeah, what?
My mom's not 50.
Yeah, but like, was she born in the... Yeah, what?
I fucked that up.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's sorry. Okay. But no,
my mom wasn't born yet by the time it aired.
Whatever. Point is...
it was going when my mom was a baby. That's what I'm trying...
Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. seems like his whole thing was... In the way it was taught, it seemed like it was ages ago. It seemed like it happened almost around the same, like right after slaves were freed, the civil rights movement happened. Because they skip over that shit because they're talking about the world wars. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in 1968.
And not only, whoa, buddy. Because the American school system, when they teach about Dr. Martin Luther King, they teach him as this revolutionary who never hurt anyone and everybody respected, and by God, he was getting results. And then you learn Martin Luther King was treated as a fucking terrorist and was completely hurt for doing absolutely nothing, peacefully protesting, not getting anywhere, and anytime a riot broke out, similar to how the Black Lives Matter movement went today, they would pin that shit on him. Yeah. Like, one of the reasons why Kennedy got elected was because he used the imprisonment of Martin Luther King Jr. as a fucking... JFK got him freed from prison. He was in prison for doing nothing wrong. It absolutely irritates me where the American, school system basically says, here, kids, see what Dr. Martin Luther King did? That's what you need to do. Only peace will get you your way. But that's just a fucking tactic to say, hey, don't destroy shit so we can keep hurting and ignoring you. Yeah. The point is, the American education system needs to benefit from the international community and get its shit checked. Something I also want to add, I want, those fundraisers that make kids go to door to be, illegal. Oh, yeah. I don't want people manipulating and using children to solicitate money from strangers. Yeah, that's fucked up. That's gross. That's dangerous and incredibly psychologically damaging. Yeah. The days of the door-to-door salesman are fucking gone. And even then, it wasn't kids
That's child labor. That's illegal. But oh no, it's for a school fundraiser, so it's normal. Like
I swear to Christ, if my kid ever comes to me and is like, "Oh, I need to order this much so I can get this bendy pencil," either one, I will go on to Amazon and buy them a fucking bendy pencil, or two, I will give them as much money as they want to get the cool hat.
Yeah.
Like,
well, see,
you are not leaving this house.
It's never just for the fundraiser. The fundraiser's always raising some shit for the school. Like, it's raising money for the school or a school trip or a project or a department. It's like, it's why so many hospitals are fucking ingratiated to these Christian mega donors to become Christian hospitals. It's so because they can't afford money on their own.
Yeah, it goes back to funding.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing about American fucking...
Our education system is in shambles.
Yeah. We need to speed through these things because we're at this point. I'm never going to get to the thing I teased. Legalizing weed, we agree on that.
Cool.
And should have happened long ago. Mm-hmm. The new Civil Rights Act.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah,
way fucking overdue.
Definitely. The Green New Deal. Maybe not the exact text, but like environmental reform is essentially what I'm getting at there.
The only thing that I disagree with in the Green New Deal, and granted, I could be misguided. No, I'm kidding. But
stop tapping.
I'm sorry, you're just there, and I want you to be like comfort, social,
It's okay.
But
I appreciate it. I love you.
I love you too. The only problematic thing I saw in the Green New Deal was mostly how it seemed to me to target regular Americans and, scaling back our carbon footprint and being carbon neutral or whatever else. More solar panels. I get it. Yep. I'm on it. But also, regular Americans are not the reason the world's melting.
Yeah.
It's corporations.
Yeah, there are things that regular people could be doing and arguably should be required to do, like...
But you can't be like, all the ice is melting because Brenda won't recycle. Yeah. No.
And granted, that's not what it said, but there was way too much onus put on the regular person in some of it. Like, corporations that overtax the carbon footprint should be punished and forced to change. Because if you just make it a fine, they'll just pay it. Like...
that just means polluting the world is free if you're rich enough.
Yeah, and that's another thing in going into criminal justice reform. Crime should not be allowed just because you're rich enough to pay your fucking way out of it. That would go into bail reform, and we just need to change the criminal justice system in general because it's all based around finding who we can blame convincingly over finding out who did something.
Agree.
It's all about wins and losses for lawyers. It's all about stupid theater. And
I was about to say it's about theatrics and manipulating the empathy of people.
Yeah. And judges should not be marketed based off their political value. And judges should not be allowed to use fucking religion in their fucking judgments.
Yeah, the religion is the one that irks me the
Oh
most.
my god.
You have to follow the law.
Yeah. Anyway, fucking, what were we talking about before criminal justice?
We were going through the list.
Yeah, what did I just cross off on the list here? Oh, is
Green New Deal.
Yeah, included in that, getting back in the Paris Climate Accord.
Yeah,
definitely. Biden already said he wants to do that, like, immediately.
1,000,000,000%.
Yeah. Welfare reform. That's a big one.
Agree. I have said it multiple times, even passingly during your other all of the aboves, but if I see one more fucking time that a person who has worked over 70 years in the workforce and earned their full Social Security payment that barely pays the bills only gets $15 in fucking food stamps again, I'm gonna start stabbing people.
Yeah, it's absolutely a disgrace. And when it comes down to it, this kind of goes into us taking care of our citizens again, because everyone should have the ability to pay for food. Like, yeah, you're not going to be eating filet mignon every fucking night. Granted, that would be a health problem in and of itself, but
Anyone who put in their time, their 60, 70, 80 years of work in providing a service, essential or non, to help the world, a service in demand, they should be entitled to a retirement where they can live in a house and eat.
yeah. And I would say you don't even need to add all that other stuff in front of it, especially those people, but like, I am disabled and unable to work at 25. Mm-hmm. I am practically guaranteed to never be able to get on disability because I have only accumulated 7 years in the workforce. Mm-hmm. And even if I get disability, I'm probably going to get diddly dick. And that is fucking unfair. It is absolutely fucked up. And then that's only a part of it. You get food stamps, as you were mentioning. I don't know how anyone would think that $15 pays for anything at all. Like, you can get like,
you need $500 for a loaf of bread.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous, and it reminds me of the fucking COVID relief when they were like, $600 is enough. Like, more than that is just incentivizing people not to work. That's like, the fact that the minimum wage is so fucking low that people are getting more on unemployment than they were when they were working is not an indictment of the unemployment being too high. It's on wages being too fucking low.
It just shows the corruption.
Yeah, and they don't want to pay a living wage. It's so fucked up. And so, yeah, that's another thing that's on the list. Raise the fucking minimum wage. I don't care if it goes to 15. I don't care what the fuck. It should be livable wage. Mm-hmm. Anywhere in the country, livable wage. So I'm going to go ahead and knock that off the fucking list. But when it comes to welfare reform, I think it should be illegal to make it a merit-based system. Like, you have to prove you're a good enough citizen to be able to feed your kids. Like, I don't understand at what point, if you've done something illegal in your life...
You smoke meth, your kids don't deserve to eat.
Yeah,
what?
Like, at what point do you lose your humanity when you've made a mistake? Like it's like how prisoners don't have the right to vote.
And then let's compound this, the previous thing about like the drug tests. Mm-hmm. Let's compound it with the fact that actual American medical industry has created the opium epidemic.
Yeah, and it is a fucking medical problem. It's not a criminal problem. These people are self-medicating from... Will you fucking stop fucking around? Your water's right next to you. Just use that bottle. Christ. It's like dealing with a goddamn banshee in my fucking bedroom. Anyway, it is a medical problem. These people are self-medicating from problems beyond the drug use. And if we treated drug use like the medical problem it is, which also ties into the healthcare reform... then you wouldn't have people who are just wallowing in prison because they were caught with a goddamn gram of crack. Like, it's so fucking ridiculous that these people are treated like less than human just because they've ever used a drug or even had it on their person, to the point where it's affecting their children's ability to live. Like, these people are still human, and they deserve to be treated like they have the right to life.
And drug use is absolutely rampant all across the country, especially in the wealthy. But you know who gets caught and punished for it?
The poor.
The poor.
Mainly the minorities. Mm-hmm. That's on the list as well. Police reform. Not only fucking taking... we already said prison reform. There we go. Police supervision board. You gotta remember that. But police reform... We are over-policing and under-policing the wrong fucking places.
What was the theme that you teased?
My biggest gripes with my favorite visual novels.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll get to that. Don't worry. It'll get more views as a standalone clip than it will be as the full thing, because the full show does not get barely any views. But it's the individual segments that do. But we are over-policing and under-policing the wrong fucking places, and way too much as it is. And there's way too much internalized protect your brotherhood kind of bullshit, and police budgetary abuse. And the fact that if you're a police officer and you are reporting a misconduct in your department, who reviews it? The sergeant of your fucking department.
Sometimes not always the sergeant of the department, but here's the thing. There is one large industry that has practically a mandatory union, and it's the police. And what the union does is tell anyone who's trying to change anything about the police force to go fuck themselves. Because it's formed to keep white supremacy and corruption in power. That's not what it's supposed to be there for.
But it's how it's used.
But that's how it's happened.
Yeah.
So even if you're getting an out-of-department investigation, 90% of the time, that person who is doing the outside investigation already understands the culture of your station and is in tune with it. And even if that person does their investigation, finds out that police officer did something wrong, punishes them for it, gets them fired, fined, whatever it is, that doesn't change the fact that you are still there and you are now a betrayer and a rat.
And you'll be treated like shit. If you don't get fired, you might get transferred, but you will be ostracized. Mm-hmm. Your job will be made harder when you already have a hard fucking job.
They won't back you up in dangerous positions.
Yeah, which can mean life or death. And when it comes down to it, the idea of a police supervisory board is basically outside of the police system. No cops reviewing cops. You need to have... Because I'm so fucking sick of hearing, well, this sheriff of this police department has just decided they won't be enforcing any mask mandate. Or, hell, Joe Arpaio is a household name, not because he's doing anything that would impact the rest of the world, but because he is a super corrupt, super fucked up sheriff in fucking Arizona. Maricopa County, I said that wrong, but that guy is so fucked up that the rest of the country knows about him because he fucking, point is.
Not to mention, especially in small towns, nepotism.
Yes, definitely. So we need a nationalized police supervisory board to basically ensure proper supervision and punishment is dealt where needed.
Also, if those of you don't know what nepotism means, it's a very frowned upon and sometimes even illegal practice of, like, giving the job to your son or family member
or
rather
your friends.
Other than someone else who's qualified.
Yeah. Prioritizing personal connection to candidates over actual qualifications.
And that is rampant in the police force in small towns.
Oh, yeah. Very much so. Oh, boy. Moving on. This was something that Bernie brought up as a way to pay for Medicare for all. A tax on Wall Street speculation.
Hell yeah.
Because fuck rich fucking Wall Street bitch-ass motherfuckers. And it would give us so much goddamn money for just taxing a penny on every dollar speculated.
Honey, if it meant I could go to the doctor, I'd take the tax myself.
Yeah. End the fucking war? That's on there. I'm so tired of us being at war. And it's obviously I had to say this to you when you looked at the list. I'm not just saying, get all the troops out all at once and that's it. Like, we need to get out of this thing. I don't care if it means passing it off to NATO, if it means a peace treaty, if it means whatever the fuck. We have been in Afghanistan and the Middle East in one way or another for way too fucking long.
I mean, it's hard to get a peace treaty going when you're fighting terrorist groups that are waiting for you to leave to destroy the innocent public.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like, somehow we need to get it to a... I'm not a fucking war expert.
No,
here.
I know completely. I'm just saying.
If it means collaborating with the international community so that we're not the ones mainly fucking doing it, or if we're doing something that other countries have decided is not necessary, ask them why. If their answer is because America's doing it, that's not a good fucking reason. If it's because they have determined it's not an actual reason, we need to examine why we're there.
And you know me, I'm a fucking peaceful puss, so I don't want the war to go on either.
Yeah.
I am very anti-war in pretty much every fucking circumstance.
Yeah.
It's just, I also don't want millions of innocent people to be killed.
When we're fucking buddying up to the murderous regime in Saudi Arabia, but at the same time we're fucking fighting, in some instances, people that did nothing to us. Like, what the fuck? We need to get our shit together when it comes to the war, hopefully ending it.
Yeah.
And that goes hand in hand with the other thing on here, reduce military spending. Because not enough money goes to the vets. The VA is a goddamn shambles. Every person I've ever met that has to use the VA for their health care says that the VA is shit.
See, and I want to accentuate that. What I've heard when I'm like, okay, we need to cut military spending, people are like, oh, you don't think soldiers deserve, like, living wage? It's like, no. I want soldier salaries to stay the same. If anything, I would like them increased. What I don't want is for us to spend millions of dollars on new fucking tanks and everything else when we're not fighting anybody.
Yeah, we spend more on our military budget than the next 10 countries combined, and that includes Russia. Russia's number 2, and they're billions of dollars behind us. When it comes down to it, no other country has active stationed military bases all around the world the way that we do. We don't fucking need them. We don't need to have so many... And I'm so fucking tired of seeing ads that's like, you want your college tuition paid for? Join the military. Risk your life.
Get shot. Die. Pay for college.
That is straight up propaganda that's targeting poor people. And I just, I hate it so much. But
See, and
what I want from the military budget is to prioritize the soldiers more.
Yeah.
I want them to have a living wage. I want, when they get back, to have their shit paid for. I want them to have a living pension.
And I don't want any fucking military personnel punished for getting psychological help while they're in the fucking military.
Yeah. Like, holy shit. Like, the idea that there is homeless veterans at all is a disgrace. In my opinion, if you put your life on the line to fight for this country, you deserve a lifelong pension. A lifelong pension of a livable wage. You don't have to work for the rest of your fucking life. As far as I'm concerned, that should be the norm. There should not... The VA should be some of the best healthcare that you can find in the world. Not fucking pencil and paper ass, we'll get to you when we get to you. You want a kidney? Get to the back of the fucking line. The VA should be a fucking reason to want to get in the military.
Oh, you're going blind and your liver is failing because of Agent Orange? Okay, I diagnose you with lying.
Yeah, like, the fucking... I want the soldiers treating well. I want the soldiers treated like the fucking heroes they are sometimes. There are bad soldiers.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And those people should be punished to fuck. But as a baseline, soldiers should be treated with higher priority than the parking lots full of empty tanks and the upkeep of obsolete, out-of-date nuclear facilities. Like, if the solution in your mind is to update the nuclear facilities, okay. But making a better nuclear infrastructure costs less overall than maintaining a shitty one. And we don't fucking need as many nukes as we have anyway. The biggest thing for me is getting out of the fucking international war market.
Yeah.
Like, we are spending billions of dollars buying and selling war machines to other countries. Sometimes to ones that we wind up fighting, or sometimes to countries that sell our shit to the countries we are fighting.
See, and it's funny when you learn, again, in the American education system, when you learn, oh, yeah, we're a big powerhouse, and we give, like, all of our money to the military. We walk with a big stick so nobody knows to fuck with us. Like, that's such an ingrained thing of, like, American pride when you're a kid. It's propaganda, again.
Yeah.
And then when you grow up, it's like, that's not something to be proud of. That's fucking paranoia.
Yeah, that is trauma. Like, okay, military solicitation should have no place in high schools.
Absolutely none.
JROTC, I'm kind of okay with, but like, if I was at lunch, I don't know how many times there'd be a fucking booth set up in the corner with some fucking military dip who would come over to everyone or like call people over and be like, how many push-ups can you do, son? And they'd be like, oh, you want to see? Because they're a fucking kid trying to show off to their friends. So they do some push-ups. And the guy's like, yeah, you got what it takes, man. You talk of college? You want to talk about your future? Come to the military. You want to show off for them? Show off for the hot Asian babes that you get stationed next to.
And they will try to get you to fill out cards with your information, like your name and your number,
and your parents have no idea it's happening.
Your parents had no idea, but also when that happened with us, Thomas, Alec, all my guy friends that I used to sit with, because I was a polite little sad little baby, so I was like, if I don't fill out the card, they will feel bad, you know, that kind of thing. And Thomas and Alec were like, do not fill out the card, and I said, well, if I fill out the card, if I don't want them to contact me, all I do is have to check this box that says don't contact me. And Thomas and Alec and everyone was like, no, they will fucking do it and they won't leave you alone. But I didn't fucking listen to them because I had too much guilt about letting down some dude that I didn't fucking know. And they called me for years and years and years and years until finally the military dude that was calling me himself, who we had gotten a good rapport with, was like, you can tell me no.
Yeah. And hell, I never filled out a card and they were still calling me from Johnson County Community College.
Yeah.
Just as a norm. They just take the student directory and call them. And imagine if either of us had military parents that wanted us to join. Every other week they'd be getting another reminder. Hey, this sounds like a good idea.
Right.
You want to pay for college, right? We already spent your college budget on prostitutes in Vegas.
And a tank.
Yeah.
Dad got a tank.
So like, straight up fucked up. Straight up fucked up. We need to end the fucking military industrial complex. Here's one that's kind of weird. Copyright reform. I'm so tired about hearing about the goddamn DMCA.
Yeah.
We need modern copyright law. Not anything that's based in fucking the 80s. The 80s are too far back.
We gotta crack down on copyright greed because there's protecting your property and then there's being dictators.
Yeah. Just because you made a thing doesn't mean you get to demand whatever happens with it. Creation is all about transformation. And so if someone makes a remix or a cover or uses your song in a stream or they fucking play a game of yours or they watch a video of yours on a stream and comment on it, that doesn't mean you should be able to take it down because you don't like what they said. Or they're making money off of using your work and then transforming it. Now, if they're just reposting your shit, then yeah, that's something else. But transformative properties in media qualify, even if you're just playing a song in the background of a live stream while you're doing something else. That is transformative.
It's the people who are given strikes for background music that destroy me. Or like music that's put in a game by the developers where they have gotten the license and all that other kind of stuff to distribute it, and then it pops up and it's like, nope.
Yeah. I've gotten copyright strikes on multiple games for music that were in the game. And then it's fucked. Like, people have gotten their whole channels taken down by Nintendo because they played one of their games.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, modern copyright reform based in the internet fucking age. Here's a really light one. Currency reform.
You want to get rid of the penny?
I want to get rid of the penny and the nickel and the dollar bill and the $2 bill. And I think
I could be okay with the penny and the nickel, but I like the dollar.
A paper dollar bill, I mean specifically the bill. Like the $1 denomination, I think, is best suited in coin.
Okay, I get what you mean.
If you replace the $1 bill with a coin permanently, there already is dollar coins, but just get rid of the bill itself because the bill only lasts a couple months in circulation, but the coin lasts years. Mm-hmm. Pennies are fucking less than useless. Yeah, less than useless because they cost more money than they're worth to make, and you don't use them for fucking anything. Nickels, same thing with the first one. You use them more often with the other thing, but like, where do you use nickels?
You could just round up to the dime.
Yeah. If you just round up to the dime, then there you go. And you don't even have to do that for debit transactions. And that's another thing. We need to own up to the fact that we are becoming less and less a cash society. So we need to modernize our currency. So bills in general should start to be less used. I would say you could even make a $5 coin and get rid of the $5 bill.
I hate to interrupt, but my head's getting really bad.
All right, so what do you want us to do?
First, can you give me some Advil?
Absolutely. Can you hold this? Just be very careful. Improvise. Vamp.
Improvising. My name is Bri and I'm improvising because I have a migraine. I've had migraines for multiple days. And Viv is getting me some medicine.
Babe, just talk about currency reform.
So now I'm improvising.
You're improvising poorly.
Let's let them decide, the people who don't watch.
I'm going to talk even quieter now. The point is, I think we could do with a $5 coin, a $50 coin, a 10-cent coin, a 25-cent coin.
Jesus Christ, based off of ibuprofen, Advil tastes like candy.
Oh yeah, that candy coating is amazing. I think a $100 bill is fine, $50 bill is fine, $25 bill, with the $20 bill, replace Andrew Jackson to get that fucker off of it. We already voted Harriet Tubman. We already decided this needs to fucking happen. $10 bill, that's fine. You know, that's what I mean by currency reform, and also like standardizing debit machines.
The fridge is screaming.
Yeah. Why do we always get a screaming fridge?
Our fridge is nightmares.
Every place we've ever lived. I think maybe even the mini fridge while we were living in your folks' place. Everywhere we've lived, the fucking fridge screams. Never anywhere else where I lived did I have a screaming fridge.
It's because it's traumatized by our fat asses sneaking up on it in the middle of the night.
Me and the boys at 3 a.m. to get beans.
Looking for beans. Looking for shredded cheese.
So that's currency reform there. Oh, here's one. Get rid of daylight savings time.
Agreed.
Definitely.
Hardcore agreed. There's no reason for it. Everyone thinks that it's for like farmers or whatever.
Farmers hate it too.
Yeah, that was never the reason. The reason was oh god. I can't remember the specific one.
Whatever the reason, it's stupid.
This is going to be, I could be completely wrong. However, I believe that daylight savings time was supposed to be a wartime energy saving measure by making people turn off their lights an hour early.
Well, we don't need that anymore. New congressional districts. This happens with the census. They redraw the districts to have better representation, and I think now that we have the Democratic Congress making that hopefully will mean less goddamn Republicans getting into office with fewer votes.
Yeah.
Because the Republicans get way fewer votes, but they send so many fucking people to Congress, it's goddamn insane. And some of these congressional districts just make no goddamn sense, but you can watch the John Oliver bit about that. We already talked about the hospitals thing. Getting money out of politics, Citizens United and all that.
That's just fucking common sense.
Yeah. A lot of these next few things are all tied to each other, like saying that corporations are not people, ergo they should not have fucking political representation.
Yeah.
And then making corporate donors to politicians as visible as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, if you're getting paid by a fucking gas company and then you're fighting a environmental bill, that shit should be noted as part of the thing, and ergo should disqualify you from that. It should be a compromising thing. Like, if you have a conflicted interest, then because you're getting donations from something that's affected in the bill, you should not be allowed to vote on it. That and Congress people are spending way too much time raising money for fundraising anyway. Because 2 years in office, that's not enough time to get anything fucking done.
And then they have to sit in like sweatshops and grovel and beg strangers.
Yeah. So I think their term should be longer, but I think there should be congressional term limits.
Uh-huh.
So 2 years is too short, but spending fucking decades in Congress is way too long.
Uh-huh.
There ain't shit about the country 50 years ago that is barely translatable to a modern life. And the last thing on the list, even though there's bound to be more stuff later, the last thing I've written down right now is a retirement age for Supreme Court justices. I think a lifetime appointment is an archaic thing.
It seems cruel, honestly.
They can retire at any point they want, but there should be a mandatory retirement age.
Right.
Like, it makes no fucking sense that every other office has a limit, but the one that is not elected is a lifetime appointment. Like that, it's so fucking medieval.
Consider this though.
Mm-hmm.
Say you have someone who's extremely qualified, everyone wants them in the Supreme Court, so and so, but the mandatory retirement is like 80 and they're 79.
Mm-hmm. So they get a good year.
That's what you would do? They'd only get 1 year?
Yeah.
That seems fair.
Yeah. 80 is already way above the national retirement age as is.
Yeah, that is true.
And once you get to your 80s, at that point, there are certain things that get compromised in your ability to work.
I guess I would just be like, your minimum retirement age would be based in the Supreme Court specifically would be based on like how many years you've served. So it's like, oh, you serve for a good 5 years, and then you can. Okay,
so you can only serve a certain amount of years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Term limits, I guess, technically.
I guess that. I think term limits and an age requirement would be good with me.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I don't want anyone in their 80s and 90s in government.
Something, though, that I know was on your list, but we didn't seem to talk about, is abolishing the Electoral College.
Yes, that's in election reform. I thought we talked about that. But no, there's a couple things we missed. Yeah, election reform. Get rid of the goddamn Electoral College. Yeah. Just straight up.
That's my number 2. For those of you who might have forgotten or didn't listen or whatever else, I only have 3 goals for this administration for the next 8 years, hopefully. The number 1 is Medicare for all. I really want to see a doctor. The second is getting rid of the Electoral College, 1 person, 1 vote. And the third, which is completely optional, and it would just help me personally. Well, not just me personally, but something I would like for myself and my future life is the student loan forgiveness.
Yes. So the Electoral College, absolutely abolish it. Straight up popular vote is the way to go.
And Viv has like 40 things that they want done. But you know what?
Well, we're in the last few now. Yeah. I thought we were done, but turns out I just scrolled down too far.
Because I don't think we covered tax reform either.
No, like everything we covered, I marked with an X. So you said it. Let's go with tax reform. Tax the rich, and get rid of the stupid bracket system that we have now.
Yeah.
Like having a certain amount of your wage go over into another bracket and all that others. That's fucking dumb. Needlessly complicated. some people want to simplify it too far. They're like, everyone pays 5%. That's it. Like, that's stupid. Mm-hmm. If you have more money, you should pay more money. There you go.
I'm okay with the brackets, but I think they need to be much larger swaths.
Yes.
Because it's like, oh, if you make 30 and then somebody else makes 35, well, congratulations. That's a difference of like 5% in taxes. It's like, how about we just tax someone that until, they get to like 100,000 is like one rate, and then going into like 500,000 is a new one, and then, yeah.
Because at some point the gaps between the brackets get to like the millions, and it's like, those are the people that should have more scrutinization, not the people who make less.
Because with the tax brackets we have now, your highest tax bracket is a little over 100,000.
Yeah.
That's like as high as it goes.
It's fucking ridiculous. Here's a simple one to say. Bust up the Google monopoly. They own
Bust up monopolies in general.
Well,
Oh my god, there's so many now.
There are, but my first priority would be Google, because they own too many fucking things, and they control way too much of our information. Mm-hmm. Like, Facebook's another one, Amazon is another one, but like, Google straight up is becoming they've gotten way too fucking powerful when we're not focused on them anymore. Like, they didn't get any smaller, but people are fighting over Facebook and Twitter and Amazon.
They only need a slight heel turn to, like, destroy the world.
Yeah. And so, the way that they govern YouTube, as an example, is absolutely a sign of capitalist corporate whoring. Mm-hmm. And it's just a fucking disaster. Mask mandate. Biden already said he wants to do this. I totally agree. Nationwide, if you're outside with where you could be around other people, you have to have a mask. If not, you get a warning. If you refuse, fucking a ticket. If you refuse multiple times, jail.
I would also say, leaving the pandemic when everything is better, I would like to keep masks around. Kind of like how Japan does when, like, you have the flu.
Yeah.
Put a mask on.
Yeah, if you're at the fucking store and you're sneezing and shit, you should be asked, wear a mask, and if you refuse, you get kicked out.
Feeling a little sick, but you still got to go to the office? Put a mask on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm definitely going to implement that.
Same, definitely. A little harder for, like, weaker-sighted people like you and me, because the fucking the fogging of the glasses, that you don't wear glasses much anymore.
Yeah, I wear contacts specifically.
Yeah, but anyway, the last thing on the list, as far as I can tell, is to overturn Trump appointments and executive orders. There was a big thing when Trump took office where people were accusing him of trying to just erase Obama's legacy. Just everything he did, get rid of it. And that
what goes around comes around.
Yeah, pretty much, because like Trump has issued so many fucking executive orders, it's insane, and so many of them are absolute fucking horrible shit. Like the trade war, get that the fuck over. That was not legislative. That was all executive orders. The DACA thing, the Paris Climate Accord, all these are executive orders. So overturn all of them, and then the appointments, the judges that he appointed.
I don't think I've hated an appointment more than I've hated the appointment of Betsy DeVos, and she resigned, so she's out now. But I know, but
that was absolutely fucking ridiculous. And all three of the people Trump put on the Supreme Court should be removed. All three of them, because they were not put in legitimately, especially the last two. One's a rapist and the other one is a fucking fraud. And I don't even know anything about the first one, but fuck him too. And so Supreme Court all the way down. If you were appointed by Trump, you get your post evaluated objectively, and if you're not good, out. Mm-hmm. Postmaster General, that fucking DeJoy smarmy fuck, out, and have him arrested. Like, the stain this guy has left, Trump, has left on the faith of our government and of our society is so huge that the only thing we can do is to demonize him.
Start over.
Yeah, demonize everything he did and erase as much as we can. Not erase it from history, but erase the impacts. Get his shit out. There you go. So that is my Biden list, as discussed with you.
Preferably get them out without fucking hurting anybody. I'm so tired of all of this.
Yeah.
And like, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I was just going to laugh about the fact that the most contentious thing out of everything we discussed was the fucking metric system. We covered so much shit. And the only thing that we got well, I don't want to say we, because I didn't get upset about it, but the only thing that either of us got upset about was the fucking metric system.
It also just... What I was going for was just that I noticed, especially when I spoke about politicians and all that other kind of stuff, I have my own fucking habit of being like, man, I hope that person is stabbed or dragged out or whatever. But like...
You don't want anyone actually stabbed.
No, I don't mean that shit. And after what's been said and going on lately, it's like...
Yeah, people chanting for the hanging of the vice president while in the Capitol building.
And they mean that shit.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even feel comfortable using it as a fucking, not stereotype,
Exaggeration?
Yeah, that'll work.
Sure.
I don't even like saying it and not fully meaning it. Like,
yeah. Like when I say that certain people should be locked up, I mean it, but I don't want physical harm done.
Yeah.
Like
I said, I am a peaceful puss. I didn't even want the people in the
Westboro Baptist Church.
Yeah. I didn't even want that guy punched.
Yeah, I did. I'm not as much of a peaceful person as you are.
A peaceful puss.
I straight up would have no problem walking on past if I saw Trump getting fucking beaten to death in the street.
I saw one of the Westboro Baptist kids get like fucking pegged with a styrofoam cup that had ice and like that quick cement shit in it. Almost fucking cried.
Jesus.
It's like, he's a kid. I mean, I get what he's doing, what he's saying is really fucking hateful, but dude,
get the kid away from the
he's
parents.
A fucking kid.
And punish the parents.
Why would you go after the kid? Anyway, sorry.
Some people just look at actions. They don't look at the circumstances around it.
Some people just don't think.
Yeah.
Period.
So that will end this particular segment. The next segment will be the gripes about my favorite visual novels, but I have a feeling you're not going to be here for that.
I'll be here. I'll just be that way.
Yeah, because it's probably going to be a solo segment. We'll figure it out. I got to end the recording anyway because we reached an hour. So Movie Magic will be back in a bit. Are you not going to be joining me on this next segment?
I'll listen. I'm very interested in what you have to say. I'm just my brain hurts.
So you're not going to talk.
And it hurts when I talk. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for joining me on this part, Bri.
You're welcome.
I love having you doing this with you.
I love having you as well in my life.
Same. You make me want to live.
You make me want to live as well.
I love you.
I love you too. Thank you, fans and people who listen. This is Bri signing off.
And I'll be right back with my gripes about my favorite visual novels.
My big meaty cock.
Okay, should have pressed the end record button a lot sooner than I did. Jeezy, crazy. Alright, everybody. I've been told I need to talk quieter. And I'm not going to talk like that.
I didn't say talk quieter. It's quietly.
Yeah. I am going to be going in this segment solo because Bri's having a migraine in the corner. So, prayers for Bri. But this is the long-teased segment about me ragging on my favorite visual novels. Because in my top, I'm going to include the bit where I talked about, this is the things I've always said, my positive stuff. But now I'm going to talk about just the gripes. And just for disclaimer, these aren't my only opinions about these things. I just decided to segment my criticisms, big or small, significant or not, and just go down the list. And this is not the same top 10 that I had before. I'm only doing the top 10. I'm not doing the top 20. This is the newly ordered top 10 as of right now, and it'll probably change before I make an actual top 10 video because my opinions are fickle. But anyway, so it's time for me to shit on the things I love. Sit still. But this will also tell you kind of where my top 10 favorite visual novels are right now. But that'll, like I said, that might change. But as of right now, this is the top 10. Starting at number 10, we have Major Minor by Clace. Yes, a long time ago played this one. And the ones I've written down are not in order. These are not in order at all. These are just whatever came to my mind. And definitely not the only ones I have about any of them. But the first problem I wrote down was forgettable. The unfortunate thing is this could just be because I played it a long time ago, but compared to some of the crazy shit that's gone on in the other visual novels I've played, it's hard for me to remember a lot of what happened in Major Minor. Granted, my memory is just kind of bad in general, but Major Minor, I have trouble remembering that I even played it sometimes. And that's not to say that it isn't eventful, but it certainly isn't crazy, as it were. And it doesn't have to be crazy to be good, but there is something to be said about how long something stays in your head. I see our dog has wandered into the room.
Hi, Spoopy.
There he is.
He's now your co-host.
Oh, God.
Sir, what do you have to say about the current climate condition?
Other thing about Major Minor is a lot of the characters are rather one-dimensional. There are a number of complicated and complex characters, but there's a lot of fucking characters, and it's not a terribly long game, and so a lot of the characters kind of get segmented into certain personality traits, and with a few exceptions, they're kind of just that. The game is very polished. It's very smooth, the sound effects are good, the art is decent, and it runs smooth as all hell, but the actual substance of the game is not as complex as a lot of the other games I've played. I could only imagine what a game like Echo would be like if it had the presentation of Major Minor. A lot of the game is segmented into two different segments. Yeah, segmented things usually are in segments. But with this one, the segments are so wildly different and barely coincide that when you're in one world versus the other, it feels like you're playing two different games, which wouldn't be the biggest problem in the world if the two different games you were playing were equally as fun. Every time I had to go to the real world, it felt like I was being forced to do it. And when I got to go to the other world, it was way more fun. And that can be a problem when you're putting the player's perspective in multiple places. What the fuck does this mean? I wrote these down in like bullet points, and so some of these don't really make sense. It says emotion changes non-existent. Oh, okay. So yeah, this would be referring to the character sprites. The character sprites are all static, which is unfortunate because this is an older game and emotion changing sprites have been the norm in visual novels in a long time, but for small scale furry visual novels, they were not always the norm. I've played several games that over the course of me playing them, I got to witness their developments. Echo for a long time didn't have many emotion changing art sprites, and this game was finished before they got any, so it kind of does create a bit of a problem when you're trying to convey emotion and no one's actually expressing any. The villains are way over the top and unrealistic, and it feels like they can only be stopped by bullshit, because otherwise they would just destroy everything. Like, you have these big hulking monsters with gears and shit, and it's like, there's no fucking way. Like, the entire build-up to it is so much smaller scale. It's like if you threw Thanos into a John Wick movie. Like, it does not diminishing either one of them, but it doesn't fit. It feels like it came from another game. 3 different fucking games at play here. And this creates a huge amount of tonal dissonance, because I don't know what the fuck the theme is supposed to be. What the fuck is the tone supposed to be? There's certain parts of the game that are intended to create an atmosphere and an element, and there's certainly some themes present, but like, I wouldn't call the game funny. It's dramatic in places. It's interesting. I don't know what the fuck to describe this game as. It's not a comedy game. It's not a drama game. It's not romantic in any way. There are some romantic moments, but it's not a romance game. It's not even a fantasy game, because only half of the game is in a fantasy world. I don't know what to fucking call this thing. Overall, the last thing I wrote down is interesting idea, not as interesting execution. I do like the idea of when people die, they go to a different world. I like the consequences of that coming back to bite them, and how it could be manipulated and all that other stuff. I like that idea. But I just don't know if this was the most realistic or interesting exploration of that idea. Obviously, there are a lot of good things I could say about Major Minor, and I already have plenty of times, but this is just the gripes, so don't take it all as if this is my only opinion. Number 9 is Doki Doki Literature Club. I'm going to write down which number I'm on, because I only have them written down with bullet points. Doki Doki Literature Club is my number 9 favorite visual novel. And it's hard to say that, because Doki Doki Literature Club doesn't seem like a visual novel, even though it is one. It's all made in Ren'Py, it's in the visual novel style, but I would more easily call it a horror game. And so it's I don't know, that's not really a gripe. It's just weird to put it on the list. I always forget about it when I'm making these lists. My biggest gripes with Doki Doki Literature Club are kind of victim of what it's trying to do. Once you play it once, the novelty wears off immediately. Like, that first playthrough you get, if you do it right, which is, it's hard to get right the first time through, because you have to have, like, you looking through files, and everyone gets a different play experience, so there is more exploration that can be done with other people playing it, looking at their playthroughs, or collaborating with other people to find out what they got in their playthroughs versus yours, which makes it a very good streaming game. But in terms of a game, there's no replayability, because as soon as you get your outcome, it isn't scary again. Once you get the experience of, what, they're watching me play? Oh my god! Well, you know what the fucking twist is again.
The biggest drive is just saving the characters, or
Yeah.
trying to get the best ending, which takes a lot of time to do.
Yeah, and it totally diminishes the tension if you're trying to just accomplish a goal. It's like backtracking in a Castlevania game. It ruins the atmosphere. So, there's that. Overplaying ruined the magic of this game. A lot of people never even got a chance to play it themselves, because everyone and their mama was playing this game on YouTube. And so a lot of the fucking magic of this game is thinking that it's just a happy-go-lucky fucking anime girl cute-a-thon, and then all of a sudden it's a fucking meta horror game. But as soon as fucking Markiplier started playing it, it was like, okay, yeah, obviously this is not a fucking visual novel. And that's not me shitting on Markiplier specifically. That's just an example of, like, it wouldn't be everywhere if it was just what it seemed. And there was no effort being made to just pretend it was what it was appearing to be.
I really can't wait for their second game.
See, that's my last gripe. They teased the second game. It still ain't out. It's been years, man. Where the fuck is it? Like, at this point, people are forgetting Doki Doki ever happened. So that's all my gripes with Doki Doki Literature Club.
Can I have a small, nice remembrance moment?
If you speak loudly.
In our playthrough, do you remember when Yuri's eyes started floating away from her face? And I was like, come sail away! Come sail! And it hit Ivy so hard, she couldn't fucking breathe. It was like, she was like, I don't know why, it was just fucking perfect. Something about it makes me laugh every time I think of it. Not because of what happened or what I said, but just of how funny Ivy thought it was.
Definitely. I mean, I look so forward to going through those streams on the highlight compilations, because...
Yeah, I don't.
Well, that's why you're not editing them, honey.
I just mean for Doki Doki, I feel like it was so cringe that I didn't just read the script, I riffed it.
It was really funny, and we all enjoyed it. And I will say this every time you bring this up. So, meh. Moving on to number 8. New entry into the list, it's Temptation's Ballad. This wasn't out when I made my original list. It's Shirokoi's second visual novel, and like, this is a gripe other people have, I don't have it, is that since he's doing this, he's not doing repeat.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is vent number 5.
I don't have a problem with Shirokoi pursuing this instead of repeat for the time being. He's been working on repeat for fucking tons of years. He's a one-man show. He does the art, the scripting, the coding, the writing, all of it by himself. If he wants a fucking break, he can take a fucking break. He goddamn deserves it. That's not a gripe of mine. The gripes I have are pretty small with this one because it's really early on. The game spends no time establishing the lore. Like, it's all character-based. And that's not a problem, right? Like, having a character-focused thing is totally fine. But, like, it seems like they're just sort of casually mentioning how the world is when it comes up, as opposed to actually spending time establishing what the world is. Because this is a world with magic. This is a world with fantasy. This is a world where certain things are allowed and certain things aren't. Like, there's a lot of shit that you just have to accept as being a thing just because it's in a fantasy world, but it's not the normal fucking... Even in fantasy worlds, there are differences in the fucking rules. Like, just establishing it as fantasy and then explaining as you go doesn't work with everything. Because certain things will come out of nowhere and it's like, I guess that's a fucking thing. Okay. Why does the fucking guy in charge of the prisons have a cowboy hat? Why is there magic in these things, the fucking crystals? Why is that a thing? Why is, how the fuck is everyone so clean? Like, what the fuck is the history of this land? Like, there's so many things that I want to know that are not at all went into. And so that is a big problem for me, because it makes me feel like you don't want to talk about the world you're building, you just want to play in it. And that's fine unless you care about what world you're playing in. And I do. And then, of course, there's the easy gripe to go with. There's needless sex, where moments do not need it. That is a thing that happens in repeat as well, but I will get to that because it is also on this list. I have no problem with sexual content in and of itself, but where it doesn't make sense and becomes averting to the plot, it becomes actively harmful and obnoxious. It can be that way sometimes. If I'm burning so many bridges with this thing, I have to keep saying, like, these aren't my only opinions about the games. I'm just saying the complaints. And these are my top 10 favorites, so obviously I love them. God damn it. Alright, moving on. Number 7, The Smoke Room. The Smoke Room also wasn't out when this list was made. And it is also early on, so that can make it a little less a little harder to judge. One big problem is that this is a prequel to Echo. As such, when you get characters that are talking about changing things for the better and making things whatever, you know it doesn't work out. Because if everything was fixed in the prequel, the sequel would have nothing going on. If everything was fixed in the smoke room, Echo would be a dating sim. You know, based in a normal world, and everyone would be happy. And there'd be no evil town or meth rapists. Like, there you go. So that is a limitation when you're basing it a horror prequel with the same villain, in a sense, because the villain in any Echo game is the town and what it does to its people. Another problem is that this is a prequel to a game that isn't finished. Echo has 2 prequels. One is Echo Route 65, and the other is The Smoke Room. Route 65 kind of made sense because it was just telling a mini story building up into the childhood. So it didn't really need to be finished, the main game. But the main game hasn't concluded with any explanations for anything. And I'll get more into that when we get to Echo. But because we don't have a bow wrapped up on anything to make us want to see what happens before it, to lead up to it, it's weird to start exploring what happened before it when you haven't finished the first one. So it's just a little fucking weird that. Not impossible, but it is a problem in a little bit of a way. This is a problem that the Smoke Room shares with Echo. It tells us a whole lot of maybe something. There's a whole lot of hinting at something going on, but it never actually explains what that thing is. Like, in one of the updates, you see a map where people were building fireplaces wherever they went, and there was a big-ass circle around Echo where they didn't go into it. Interesting. That's a very compelling image and story. What the fuck does it mean? Why were they avoiding it? What were they avoiding? They don't explain it. They just move on. They leave it to us to, like, figure it out a little bit. And yeah, it's early on in the Smoke Room, so maybe there will be more of an explanation later on. But Echo is almost completed. And there has been a lot of things that happened in Echo that they just sort of dealt with the consequences and then left without explaining what the fuck happened. They talk in really vague terms. The soil is cursed and all this other stuff. And it's like, what the fuck is the curse? What are the monsters from? What the fuck happened to Sydney? It seemed to matter what route you're on. The thing that happened to Sydney seems to change. So I don't know. Man. Oh, here's one. This is a prequel set in the time of the first big hysteria, I think. But it's not about that. Because the big event between James Hendricks and the Masada person, I don't remember their name, John Begay. John Begay ain't shown up in the game yet. I don't know if this happened before or after that. Apparently, there was a big murder in the mine before the game, and I thought that murder was what led to the thing between James and John. But apparently, no, maybe? I thought James left the town after that? I really don't understand what's going on. And why, when the intrigue of so many things that happened in the main game is about what happened then, is this game not about that? It hasn't even been addressed, so it makes me think it hasn't happened yet. But if it has happened, what the fuck? And if it hasn't happened, why is nothing leading up to it? Like, there's no hint that this is leading to anything. It's all about Sam and this murder mystery that has not at all involved James or John. The peripheral characters, one of them, the other one doesn't even exist. Oh, this one is kind of a gripe with Echo more, but it concerns the main character of the Smoke Room, so I put it here. An anticlimactic end to Samuel. We don't know for 100% sure, because it isn't stated specifically, but it is basically determined that the person that passes the curse of Echo onto Sydney's father, who then passes it on to Sydney, who then passes it on to Chase, was Samuel, which means that Sydney's dad killed Sam, which is sad, but it's so underwhelming how it happened. Bri, you don't know about this yet. Do you mind me saying it?
No, go ahead. I wasn't even listening.
Oh, well, that's good. Glad you're invested.
Well, it's not so much that I'm not invested. I know you'll probably talk about spoilers, so I've been distracting myself.
I get you. Well, in Echo, it is basically said, without it saying flat out, that Sam dies from being run over. He's out walking on the highway for some fucking reason. He's old now. He's lamenting the fact that the world around him isn't the world he knows. He doesn't belong here. And then all of a sudden, Sydney's dad, I should say, is driving along with the girl from the diner, and they accidentally hit him because they're not paying attention to the road. And he's trapped under the car. They try to lift it off of him. And as he's trying to get out, his head moves under the tire, and they slip, and he gets crushed by the tire. And he dies. And that's it. Like, I don't know about you, but that seems pretty fucking underwhelming considering all the shit he's going through right now. And especially since the way it's played is that he was alive after getting hit by the car, but he just sort of inches his fucking head under the tire, and then it slowly crushes him. Like, I don't know if that's just a shitty way to die or whatever, but that fucking sucked to read, man. And then his body gets ditched with the car, and that same truck is the thing that, you know, he was with when Sydney shot him, and then Sydney shot his dad, and then during Route 65 when you walk up on it, and it's I don't fucking know, man. I just want to, I want it all wrapped up in a bow so badly, but it's just not at all happening. Oh, here's a one that's a lot lighter. Why the fuck is there a giant ass telescope in Echo in the fucking like early 1900s? Like, this place is like frontier, barely has running water, fucking mining town, dirt roads. What the hell does Murdoch's sister why does she have a fucking domed telescope? Giant fucking industrial, belongs in a goddamn astronomy fucking building ass telescope. It's so unrealistic. It's so fucking stupid. I mean, it's cool that it's there, but what the hell? Now, here's one that's sort of goes into my like fan theory that Echo and Adastra are in the same universe, which is not at all confirmed, and most people do not think it's true. I don't even really think it is true. I just think it's fun to think about, and that there are a lot of things hinting towards it. But Echo goes out of its way to point out that it is not sharing an Earth that shares the geography of our real Earth. Adastra does not do that. It establishes pretty clearly what is and isn't Earth. But Echo has Saturn. Like, real ass actual Saturn. It shows a picture of it, describes it perfectly, calls it Saturn. Nothing else in Echo is referred to as anything based around our real world, but Saturn's a thing. So what the fuck? Are you on Earth or not? And then the final gripe for the smoke room is that everyone has the want to fuck the protagonist syndrome. Like, I get we're playing as an actual whore, and it's a little weird to have a dating aspect to a game where you don't have people that actively want to fuck you, but like, the best dating sims are characters. There are interactions in dating sims. This is not a dating sim, but in any romantic portion of a game, it doesn't start with everyone wanting to fuck each other by default. Like, you get to know each other or whatever, but everyone wants to fuck the main character in the smoke room. Everyone, seemingly. So it's like, it's a little fucking uncomfortable and more than a little unrealistic, and it really takes me out of it. That's Spoofy in the background whining. Really wish she wasn't. That was Bri. Moving swiftly along to the Hayseed Night, number 6. Don't have much in the way of gripes with the Hayseed Night. There's not a lot of it out right now, unfortunately. This is a gripe that I totally understand the reasoning for. It just is an unfortunate thing. It takes too long to get an update. And this is another thing. Maxi does almost all of it themselves, and it's voice acted, and the voice actors are paid, and the coding is a lot more complicated than a lot of other visual novels. As such, it makes sense that it takes a long fucking time to update, and that's without taking any of Maxi's real-life situations into account. That being said, this isn't the context crew. This is just things that are not optimal, and having slow updates is not optimal. That's not me blaming anything in particular. That just is true. The lore density in the Hayseed Night is the exact opposite of Temptation's Ballad. There's way too much available to learn way too early that has nothing to do with what we're actually dealing with. Even Maxi was like, you don't have to read all of that right out front. And I was like, well, why is it there? Make it available when it matters. And getting through all of it took a long fucking time. And I just hope to Christ that all of it gets paid off in context, because if it doesn't, then it was a waste of time. Tonal inconsistency is a thing with this game. Sometimes it's really lighthearted and really fun. Other times it tries to be really dark and really serious and trying to say a message. And sometimes it tries to do one when seemingly conveying the other. And it's a little clunky in that regard. Here's length. It's short right now. There's only 3 chapters out right now. And since the first 2 chapters got reworked, I have to go all the way back to the beginning, and it's been a pleasurable experience to do so, but, the game's been in the works for years, and we only got 3 chapters, so a little short there. From what I have played, nothing significant has happened yet. The whole story is about how Adder becomes a knight and how it impacts his legacy going forward, but we haven't gotten anywhere close to that, and it makes me worried that this is a very, very long story, and we're not getting anywhere anytime fast. And the last one is that given the complications trying to actually get updates for this game, and how long it takes, and how much Maxi's talked about, after I get this chapter done, I'm just dropping off the face of the earth, and I don't want anything to do with it, and I probably won't finish it. It makes it hard for me to hope for a conclusion to this game, because it seems like Maxi is not even confident that they want to finish it. Like, they want to have it finished, but, doing it is fucking hard. So it makes it kind of hard to be invested in actually seeing it get finished. There's been a lot of projects get dropped over the years, and so it's hard to get invested in one that is at risk of being dropped already. Number 5 is Repeat. Next on the complaint-only trip, the prologue of Repeat needs to be rewritten almost entirely. It's corny, it's fucking weirdly written, the characters are way different than they turn out to be. It's because it was written a long time ago. One nitpick for me is that the character of the main character's personality is established. It is defined. The history is defined. And it has a defined name already in there as Yuka, which is a weird fucking name. However, you are allowed to change the name of the character, but everyone gets pissed at you when you do. And even Shirokoi said that if they could take that out, they would. So yeah, that's a gripe that even Shirokoi has. The out of nowhere sex scenes in the early days, obviously, you gotta drum up interest somehow, but it harms the narrative. It makes no sense, and it's literally just there for eye candy, because it doesn't add into the plot. You can choose to or to not do them. It won't matter when you choose your character. and it gets ignored even in its own context. I remember there was a moment where like we had stroked Sissel off in a shower. We were very intimate with them. And then later on they were like, "Oh, why do you want to hang out with me? That's weird." Like, that's tonal inconsistency. The art needs to be updated because a lot of the later sprites are a lot better detailed than the early ones, and so the old ones need to be replaced because it's really noticeable when an older sprite comes up. It's just what happens when you do something for long enough. You get really good at it. How dare you? How dare you develop your skills, Shirokoi? The UI could be cooler. I've seen a lot of cool UIs and designs for text boxes and stuff like that, but Repeat just sort of has a gray box. It's kind of a nitpick there, but could be cooler. The backgrounds are just posterized pictures of real life shit, and Shirokoi has mentioned that he has no intention of going through and paying for background art, which I think is a shame, because when you get into a CG, the backgrounds are drawn. Shirokoi has proven he can draw good backgrounds, but it is a lot to do backgrounds because there's a lot of locations. But it looks bad when it's just a picture of some shit, like a real life picture. There's a lot of, "I'll explain this later," or I don't want to say this now, or whatever. Just talk to each other. If it's a matter of life and death, don't explain it later. Just fucking explain shit. That's a gripe with multiple stories I've experienced in multiple mediums. It's just fucking frustrating and needless. Sissel can be way too emo sometimes. Like, he's got a lot of reasons to have emotional problems, but like, sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. While we're talking about characters, Owen can't decide if he's Darius or Owen, because Owen is very flirty and very sexually active. But where Darius and Owen differ is Owen is way more quick to be selfless, even though he's way more oblivious. But sometimes that just doesn't happen, and his character changes a lot as the game progresses. And so tidying up where he's acting more in one way than the other could be a lot, could benefit. And then the last gripe is that there's a huge reveal before the character decisions, which route are you on, of which, the backstory, who is the Black Cat. As soon as it's revealed, it doesn't matter anymore. It never gets mentioned outside of an odd reference here or there, and it gets and explain away why Philip's able to have contacts and stuff. But like, he never does any Black Cat shit, almost ever. He once or twice, but like, people just sort of act like it's a normal thing after it gets explained. It's still not a normal thing. But oh well. Number 4, extracurricular activities. Again, just doing the complaints, not my only opinions, but here we go. The days are too fucking long, and the game is too long in general. Every character has a 35-day route, and the days take hours, if not an hour, if not longer, to get through. That's way too fucking much. I've 100 and however many fucking episodes. Some of the episodes were shorter, but none of them have been short. Only like 1 or 2 have ever been short, and those were the catch-up days, which happened because this game has had a lot of programming things where I had to rebuild save files, and those are very fucking hard to do when the guides are not readily available. Fortunately, Dine has become a friend of mine, and so I was able, hopefully he stays a friend of mine after he hears this, if he does hear this, but I love you, Dine. Please don't hate me. But he was able to provide me with some other guides. Some, not all. There used to be more. Don't know where they went. They became Patreon exclusive. And so that kind of hurt. Especially since I'm not allowed to play the Patreon builds. And I don't have the money to be a patron. But anyway, So that's some of the ones, not really in the order I meant to, but yeah. Darius's characterization is very inconsistent because some days he is just a really, really terrible person on his route or in others. And in other days, he is more of the misunderstood tragic character that is more compelling. But other days, he is just the absolute worst fucking person. And it makes it really hard to care about him when obviously you need to when you're on his own route. There are a lot of moments in this game where trauma is replacing drama, because there's a difference between drama and trauma, even though they sound very similar. Drama is a gripping, like, ooh, what's going to happen? Oh my gosh. Trauma is, oh my God, that's horrible. Oh, fuck. And yeah, it's way easier to care about trauma when it's happening, but like, I don't think in Chester's route we needed to get fucking kidnapped and assaulted in order for us to sympathize with Chester's backstory. That was trauma replacing drama. That's just one example. It happens a lot in this game. Here's another one. Everyone wants our boyfriend syndrome. There's a lot of instances where everyone wants to fuck whoever's route we're on. And a lot of it does come from Darius or Richard or sometimes Maria or just side characters. Spencer gets it a lot. Darius gets it a lot, where it seems like everyone wants to take our boyfriend away. That is unpleasant. I don't want to deal with that when I'm trying to date her. It's fucking uncomfortable that everyone wants to fuck our fucking boyfriend. It's like every route, too. I think Chester's the only one, and he's a fucking rape victim. So, like, Christ. So, yeah. That's just obnoxious. Oh, hypersexuality and needless sexuality. After a bit in this, while you're playing extracurricular activities, the name's too fucking long. It's hard to say, and it's a lot of characters. But, after a bit, every character devolves into a series of kinks. Like, not entirely, but like, all of a sudden, every day is defined with wake up with something sexual happening, throughout the day where there will always be some sort of reference to sex, and at the end of the day, there will be some sort of sexual thing. And that goes on for a long time at the end of the routes. Sexual content in and of itself is not a problem. I am totally fine with sexual content, but it has to have a reason and serve a purpose. And when characters go from complex characters to being just like conduits for various sexual kinks, it becomes disorienting and kind of ruins a lot of characters. Like, even it's written into the story that it was confusing to the main character that Dozer would be such a kinky guy, and I guess it can be explained, and a lot of it is explained, it just feels unnatural. And like, Richard was not at all sexual, and then all of a sudden he became a buff Darius. It's like, and that only happened because everyone was thirsting after him, and now you gotta build into a Richard route, which, by the way, I don't want a Richard route, man. I don't want a Richard route. I don't care. I never wanted a Richard route. But a lot of people were thirsting for him, and now Dine is making another 35-day long story for a character that you will not be interacting with at school, where your fucking story happens. There's no extracurricular activities where there isn't a curricular. Fuck. So, like, I don't know how that story's gonna go, or how it's gonna play into anything you're doing. I didn't want it in the first place. I'm sure it'll be great, but just, especially knowing that there's a 35-day length, like, why the fuck is that it's so long? At least with Tennis Ace, they skip days every once in a while, so you don't have to live every single fucking day. You go from acquaintance to fucking lover in a month. That's too fast to be realistic. Especially with the amount of shit you cram into those days. Because it's so fucking long, replayability takes a back seat. I hate rebuilding the save files in this game because it takes so goddamn long, and some of the choices don't make sense or are unpleasant to make because they're the right choice in the game but are not pleasant to go through. Like, making Harold jealous by seemingly playing along with Darius was the right choice. I don't like that. That's gross. Why would you do that to someone who has problems with people leaving him or making him feel bad about who he is? Like, that just seems like a bad fucking choice. But yeah, I don't. Some of these games I want to play through multiple times to see the different outcomes. Extracurricular activities, no. Once I get through it, I don't want to do it again because it's so fucking long. It's too much. It's too much. And a lot of the things are fucking hard to get right. Like, one or two wrong choices, you get a bad ending. That's it. One or two, that's all it takes. Very finicky. But anyway, so that's some of my gripes for extracurricular activities. Again, this is my favorites. These are my favorite visual novels. I love these. I have a lot of positive things to say about these, but I'm just listing the criticisms here. God damn it. I feel like I'm offending people. Moving on. Number 3 is Tennis Ace. Why the hell are the words on and in backwards? What the fuck is that? I don't know where that comes from, but it is obnoxious and happens all the time, and it needs to be fucking fixed in revision. What the fuck? The days are way too fucking long. Even longer than extracurricular activities sometimes. Like, there was one time where I was playing an update for a character, it had 2 days, and it took 3 hours to record. What the fuck? And some days are shorter, but like, sometimes it just feels like there are certain conversations that don't need to happen, or take too long, or because every character's got to get a word in, it seems like everyone's got to say something on a certain topic, and then it seems like everyone's ganging up on a topic that in an unnatural conversational way. One of these examples are when you have to include all the extra characters, the side characters, then they all show up at the same time, and all with nothing to add to the story. They all have one sprite, so they're not interesting to look at. The characters are mildly interesting or entertaining, not terribly so. So they really seem just like filler. Like, oh yeah, they're still here. I don't care about the Rat Brothers, or the bear with the toast in his mouth, or the student teacher lady, or the student lead, or I don't fucking care about these people. And I especially don't care that they all show up all at the same time with nothing to fucking add. Also, there's way too much of people shitting on the main character for being good at shit, and for doing stuff that they all do themselves. Like, they'll fucking complain about the main character making a harsh joke when everyone is ripping everyone's asshole wide open all the time. But when it's happening to us, every character in the group has to say it's that as well. And sometimes with very unnatural sounding dialogue. And so it'll be like, everyone in the group takes their turn to shit on us, and it's like, okay, I get it, but also you're doing the same shit, so get off my fucking dick and take a look at yourselves in the mirror for a fucking change. But that never happens. Self-reflection does not fucking happen in this game. The prologue's way too fucking long. The first day in particular is way too long, but it takes way too long to get to the route choices. It's too fucking much. Like, the game is a balance between telling the main character story and telling your dating character story. It seems like the first half is dedicated to the main character, and as soon as you choose a character, the main character's story is just gone, except for the occasional points where it gets mentioned. Like, it's like a tale of two different stories, and they don't blend very well yet. It's kind of like this. I got another gripe here. It's like the Steven Universe complaint. There are moments in the cartoon Steven Universe where the main character, Steven, is in a place or a scenario or a scene when it makes no fucking sense for him to be. Like, later on, the game experiments with shifting perspectives to different characters when the main character does not need to be around. And that's good. That's a very good thing to do. But earlier on, before that, there were some times where the main character just didn't need to be in a place for something to be happening, but we needed it to be known as it was happening to the reader. Like, why the fuck were we at the guitar shop? We didn't need to be there. Well, they were for moral support. Like, what the fuck? We didn't even do anything. Like, nothing that happened there involved us. So what the fuck? That's just one example, mind you. I'm not just picking on that scene in particular. Had to take a drink. The tennis matches are no fun to deal with because I don't know a shit thing about tennis, and they take for a long time to get through. And the game's about tennis, but like they don't teach you anything about tennis. So if you don't know anything about tennis, it's very easy to get your choices wrong. And the fucking QuickTime events are ridiculous. I hate them in any instance they show up in. I fucking hate them. Gross. Don't like them. At least they're better than extracurricular activities QuickTime events where there's no progress bar and you're just pressing random keys. Like, Tennis Ace does QuickTime events better than extracurricular activities for sure. Oh yeah. This gripe is just written down as, why is Yuichi doing anything? Like, there's so many things where it's like he's doing various shit seemingly for no reason. And he's got so many different things he can do and is great at, but why? Like, why is he doing something? I don't know. That one's a weird one to explain, but it just seems like our main character's floating into weird areas that he would have no reason to go into. Oh, here's one. The fucking kid brother is just thoroughly unpleasant. Like, he has some shining moments, but like, by and large, his dynamic, like, we don't get to see where, Yuichi keeps referencing a time where they got along a lot better. We never get to see that. And a lot of the time, the brother is just fucking playing into the shitting on the main character circus. And it gets fucking old, and I don't know if it's just me or not, but a fucking young kid fucking talking like they're hot shit, aka just being needlessly mean, is fucking obnoxious and unpleasant, and I don't want to fucking deal with it. Careful now. There's chords right where you're pressing. Shuichi is not a healthy option for a route. Just straight up. I think similarly of Spencer, but Shuichi in particular, he is not a character that needs a romance route. His character needs a good friend. But as exemplified by some of the things that they've been going through, the power dynamic is just not good for romantic interaction. It's just not good for either one. Unrealistic expectations, too high a standards, long overdue, telling of feelings. There's no way that it was going to go well. And it is very likely that if this were in real life, the relationship would have ended and it would have been very unpleasant. And the last one is the bad routes, the bad endings. They're way too harsh. Way too harsh. When it goes bad, it goes way too fucking bad. So that's just, like, you have to have an obviously this was a bad choice kind of thing, but like, good lord. Like, especially June's was like needlessly fucking traumatizing. Going on to number 2, we have Adastra on the only complaining about my favorite visual novels thing. My number 2 favorite visual novel of all time, Adastra. The sex scenes are unnecessary. Straight up unnecessary. The Neferu one, unnecessary. The one when we come back, unnecessary. Like, I get that they're part of it, but like, those 2 scenes where they actually do it are unnecessary. They come out of nowhere, they cause slight drama in the moment, or are barely referenced, and then they're just gone. And it feels totally incongruent with the rest of the game, which mostly was clean. It took me a while to get used to the art style. I did eventually warm up to the art style, but it took me a while to get past it looking super cartoony and disproportionate. The romance between the main character and Amicus is rushed. You skip months of progress at a time because the story is too short, but it's told over a longer period of time than would make sense. And so a lot of the growing chemistry happens off screen. There are lots of hints pushing towards the sequel, Camia, without giving a conclusion as to what we're building towards. Like, we just have a lot of nebulous ideas, but no real idea of where we're going, and not a lot gets wrapped up. And now we're building towards a sequel. It's like, we haven't finished this one first in terms of story. A lot of characters do nothing until they're shown doing something. Like, there's seemingly no emphasis on this character was doing something in the background the whole time, except for Alex. And, like, Cassius was the fucking emperor. And we heard about him doing more while on the campaign trail than when he was actually the emperor. Like, what the fuck was anyone doing until we show up? Also, speaking of Alex, he got no punishment. He was actively trying to sabotage and destroy the whole planet. And he even tried to steal a ship at the very end. And just nothing. Just, oh, there he goes. Whatever. That was ridiculous. Oh, and then, of course, forcing the protagonist out of the sequel. This is more of a gripe against Camia, but, like, because of the way that the way Ad Astra ends, there's no way for the protagonist to actually be in it. So now we have to change protagonists, and the whole story about Ad Astra was, in the future, the protagonist and Amicus will be together again, but the sequel story can't have that. And it makes me really worried that we'll get a Final Fantasy X-2 situation where, because we can't have a romance with the protagonist and the love interest, then someone else is going to try to romance our previous love interest. I don't want that. I didn't like it in Final Fantasy X-2, and I don't want it here. I get really worried about someone trying to get with Amicus. I don't want to see that. It would really fucking ruin him for me. My number one is Echo. My favorite visual novel of all time is Echo, and here are just the complaints. Again, I could have a lot of good things to say, but here are just the complaints. The art is inconsistent. Sometimes it's good and more photorealistic, other times it's more cartoony. I don't like the people who like Leo as a character, because Leo as a character is the worst fucking character. And fuck you if you're trying to erase his whole point as a character by trying to be like, oh, well, he should have a good ending where he winds up with Chase and everything's fine. No, Leo is not supposed to be with Chase. It is a bad relationship even before the corruption happened. Leo is a terrible fucking character and should not be enjoyed. And if you're trying to romanticize Leo with Chase, you are missing the point. You're not paying attention to the characters. You are actively ignoring the story because you like the idea of a wolf being with an otter, and that's not fucking justified to the people who write the story or to the story that's trying to be told. You're surface level, shallow, and you don't deserve this fucking story. Moving on. As I mentioned with The Smoke Room, Echo tells us a whole lot of maybe something. It hints at a lot of stuff, but doesn't actually say what's going on. It teased a lot for the prequel and sequel before actually concluding anything this time around, which actively takes away from the anticipation of the prequels and sequels. Flynn's character is completely inconsistent. He completely changes depending on what route you're on, and even in his own route, he goes from being a hypersexual deviant to being a very introspective, calculating, just trying to know what's going on kind of guy. And in other routes, he's just a dick. And it really comes down to the fact that it's obvious that the different routes are written by different people, because all the characters are different depending on what fucking route you're on. And some routes are more wordy than others. Some routes tell more than they show, and other routes are vice versa. And so when it comes down to it, you need some narrative consistency when you have a game where you're supposed to play multiple routes. The game is legitimately traumatizing in a lot of instances. I still have trouble looking into a closet in the middle of the night because I see Flynn's fucked up eye socket face. Not eye socket, but electric socket face. And the bad ending for Leo is still in my head and still fucks with me every time I see it. And everything with Brian is traumatizing to hell. Also, why is Brian invincible? He's a methed up fucking bear, but that shouldn't make him indestructible. Why the hell is anyone staying in this town, especially the main characters? As soon as something starts going bad, they should get the fuck out of there. And not every route they have the crux of needing to find Carl, because I understand that one. You need to find your friend. But that doesn't happen in every other route. So why the fuck is it? Why are they sticking around when that isn't a thing? There's no good reason to, other than the whole, like, oh, they always come back and they're stuck. Like, they don't fucking... It makes no sense. Like the horror movie. Why would you stay in the house? There's a murder in the house. Get the fuck out of the house. Makes no sense. A lot of the routes are over, and none of them explain shit. It just shows what happened and the consequence of what happened, but they don't explain what happened. And since they're all done, unless once Jenna's route ends, we get an overarching finishing route, I have to wait until Echo 2 to hope to Christ anything gets resolved. And even when that happens, what the fuck are we going to do? Which route is the canon route leading into that one? Because one of the routes have to be canon in order for you to build off of it. So what the hell is going to happen? I don't know what the fuck's going on. And it's hard for me to be excited to see the next chapter of what's happening when I don't know what the fuck is happening. So yeah, the biggest problem with Echo is it's trying to tell a story, and it's trying to finish the story when it hasn't explained anything yet. And I've been playing this game for years, and it's getting really fucking hard to be patient. But I'm still trying. And I still have a lot of things I love about this game. I have a lot of things I love about all the games that I have mentioned on this list. But this was just me giving some of my complaints, some more important than others, obviously, about my favorite visual novels, ones that I absolutely love. And so, please don't be offended, anyone. Don't think that that's all I think about these games. A lot of things I could be saying positive, but I just didn't this time around. Anyway, so that's that. Hope I didn't burn too many bridges. Ugh. So that's going to be it for this episode of All of the Above. It's a long one, but most people just watch the clips anyway. If you watched this one with the full conclusion, feel free to go to whichever segment clip was your favorite in its own, but comment that you love grape nuts. I will know what that means. Don't explain to anyone else what that means, but go to your favorite clip, and you can type it in the comments here, but go to your favorite individual clip and type that you love grape nuts. The cereal, not testicles of a grape. Thank you all very much for watching and listening, mostly because this is an audio show. I very much appreciate you listening to these because not many people do. I love doing these things. I could talk forever, but I need to shit. So, thank you. If you want to support me, there's links in the description to follow me on my various social media platforms, as well as links to crowdfunding sources like Patreon and Ko-fi. If you want to be notified when future episodes of this show come out, the subscribe and notification bell can be rung down below. If you want to see other stuff that I have done already, I've linked to some of those in the cards up above. But with that all being said, thank you for being here with this update on my life and my thoughts. I've been the Trained Unprofessional, along with the Squick. And we will see you next time. Bye, everyone!